Welcome to the meeting of September 23rd. It's a Tuesday. Kaylee, can we have roll call, please?
Thank you, Chair. Supervisor Madrone.
Present.
Supervisor Arroyo. Here. Supervisor Wilson.
Present.
Supervisor Bohn. Chair Bushnell.
Good morning again. Could we salute our flag, please? Before we go to modifications of the agenda, due to the number of complexity of items that will be considered at today's meeting, the public comment period for certain items may be limited to 2 minutes. I don't intend to do that, but the meeting is going to be very long, and so if I see that we need that to keep the meeting flowing, that will happen, and I will announce that before the item. Thank you. CAO, modifications to the agenda, please.
Good morning, Chair Bushnell. There are a number of modifications today. Item D1, D3, and D4 will be pulled from consent for discussion. Item D23 is being pulled and will return at a later date with modifications.
Okay, thank you. We will go on to our consent calendar. Does any member of this board have a comment about the consent calendar? Okay, seeing none, we will go, so D2 and 3. Supervisor Bohn, do you want to do proclamation recognizing, oh, you pulled National Day of Service? No. Okay, do you want to read that one?
I did. Is anybody here from the Eureka Women's Club? It's just, whereas the residents of Humboldt County value service, collaboration, and compassion as foundational principles of community life, whereas the National Day of Service unites individuals, civic organizations, and government entities in a shared commitment to address urgent needs and improve the well-being of our communities. We're going to talk about a lady that does quite a bit of that in a minute. Whereas on September 28, 2025, the Eureka Women's Club, in partnership with the General Federation of Women's Clubs, the California Federation of Women's Clubs, the Jennifer Bushnell Memorial Fund, Humboldt Domestic Violence Service, and local law enforcement, tribal reps, and community advocates will host a public event raising awareness about domestic violence, missing and murdered indigenous women, and human trafficking. Whereas Humboldt County is dedicated to addressing these critical issues by supporting prevention programs, survivor services, collaborative solutions to protect the safety, dignity, and human rights of all residents, and whereas the county recognizes the importance of volunteerism, civic engagement in creating lasting change, and encourages citizens to lend their time, talents, and voices to causes that strengthen the community. Therefore, be it proclaimed that that the Humboldt Board of Supervisors hereby declares September 28th as National Day of Service in the County of Humboldt, and urges all residents to participate in local service opportunities, educational forums, and community initiatives that foster safety, equality, and justice for all. Basically, just do a little and it helps a lot. Signed, Michelle Bushnell, Chair. So this is for September 28th, the National Day of Service. So I appreciate our board recognizing this.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other comments from the board before we go to public comment? None? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to public comment on the Zoom.
There is none, Chair.
Okay, we will go to public comment in the room. Good morning, Kent.
Good morning, Michelle. That comment on Jennifer Bushnell, is that a relative of yours somehow? Or?
Daughter.
Daughter, okay. Well, thank you. I did wish to make comment here. We're sending $6 million, trying to find the one in here, out of the area. Item 18, Department of Health and Human Services. We're doing professional services agreement with a Cabot, the Los Paz Community District regarding provision, training, and education for $6 million. I don't know if there's some way we can form a partnership with our community college somehow so they can get involved in this. I think it'd be important for them to do that for us. And we could give them the money, we could benefit from that. And we seem to be lacking the expertise in our workforce and a lot of these other training things that should happen, and maybe our educational system, either through Cal Poly or through our CR, can go ahead and do that. There was another $6 million that is of Headwaters Fund that's being sent out to, and I can't remember the name right now, but anyway, a good local thing. It's good to see the Headwaters money out there working. I've tracked a few of those things, and a lot of these things that go through these organizations have a pretty good rate of not going upside down. And anytime we're using money like that, it's important to have that managed professionally and locally. So I strongly support that. Thank you for my opportunity to comment on your consent calendar.
Thank you. Hi, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Chair Bushnell and Board. My name is Jim Clark, representing Redwood Region Audubon Society regarding a memorandum of understanding that will allow our chapter to hold environmental improvement events on county-owned property.
Sir, I think that, are you commenting on the consent calendar or just a general comment?
General comment?
Okay, so you need to wait. That'll be after.
Oh, sorry, I
Probably about 20
misunderstood.
minutes. No problem. Anybody else for public comment on the consent calendar? No? Okay, seeing none, I'll close public comment and bring it back to the board for comments and a motion.
I will move consent.
I'll second.
Supervisor Madrone,
Yes.
Supervisor Wilson,
Yes.
Supervisor Arroyo,
Yes.
Supervisor Bohn,
Be great.
Chair Bushnell.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to go to our first item pulled, which is resolution setting tax rates for fiscal year 25-26. I pulled this item. I don't anticipate much discussion. Mr. Evenson is here if we have questions. Otherwise, we can go to public comment on the Zoom.
There is none, Chair.
Public comment in the room. Seeing none, I will close public comment. Are there any questions of Mr. Evenson? No? So I would look for a motion to pass this.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Supervisor Bohn,
Yes.
Supervisor Wilson,
Yes.
Supervisor Arroyo,
Yes.
Chair Bushnell,
No.
Supervisor Madrone.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1.
Thank you, Mr. Evenson, for being here, and have a good day. Okay, we will go to our second item pulled, which comes to us from Supervisor Bohn, and I'll let him introduce that.
Well, she probably has a whole wall of these, but Bird Lochte is, when you look about community service and what we talked about earlier from her time on, I'm not going to name everything she's been on because I've been stumbling across Bird for 30 some odd years. Both, yeah, she's sitting right there. I can see the top of her head anyway, sitting next to Bev. Bird's been a blessing to this community, her family, her house on the hill. She brings a lot to the table, and I'd rather turn it over to the people that admire her most, and especially the people that have worked with her, because I think it's been an honor to work with her and still work with her. We're not putting you to bed yet, but it's time we recognize the service that she's done. So, Bird, this is a commendation from the Board of Supervisors for outstanding service and lasting contributions to the people of Humboldt County.
just a couple of minutes to say thank you very much for this honor, but also to say I love Humboldt County. Not just physical part of Humboldt County and the weather, but the people who are here, the generous people, the helpful people, all the people that I have worked with as I have done my service as my way of giving back to this wonderful community where I live. So thank you, and thank you to everyone that I have worked with and has made it such a labor of love for me. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll bring it back to the board if anybody has comments before we go to public comment. Supervisor Arroyo.
Well, thank you so much for your many forms of service. I'm sure there are some that I don't know about, but there's certainly plenty that I do, and I just want to thank you for being a role model. Specifically, you've been a role model to me, so thank you for participating in civic engagement and making sure that public discourse and dialogue is happening on some of the most important issues of our day, and that people are engaged in civics. I think that is always something I wish to see more of, and I'm grateful to you for all your work in that space. Thank you.
Okay, we will go out to public comment, and we'll go to Zoom first.
There is none, Chair.
So anybody that has a comment about this resolution, please come forward. Ma'am, you just cut in front of someone. You need to wait. Thank you. Please don't. Hi.
Hi,
Good morning.
I'm Peter Pennycamp. I came here to be head of Humboldt Area Foundation in 1993, and I think I met Bird probably in 1993. We're in a community full of amazing volunteers and volunteerism, but there's a few people who, even given that, are astounding, and of course we all know that Bird is one of them, right? When I first met her, we're at a point of youth violence in this community that was really sort of stunning. We had kids killing kids. She was organizing with the Girl Scouts to increase opportunity and actually save the building and do a bunch of other things. She was one of the founders of Youth Authors Festival. I don't think it would exist without her. At a point when nonprofits were weak, she stepped into that sort of chasm and provided board training to almost every nonprofit in Humboldt County, and I think really helped us organize, increase the quality of all our nonprofits. At a point when our spay and neuter networks were fractured all over the place, she organized the spay and neuter networks into a coherent whole. And of course, then there's the League of Women Voters and the Human Rights Commission. It's hard to imagine that anyone could do as much as Bird has done. So it's been a real honor to know her, and boy, are we lucky as a community. Take care.
Thank you. Hi, good morning. Come forward.
Good morning. My name is Rick Botzler. I am a Human Rights Commissioner, and I've worked with Bird. Actually, I met her in the 1990s when she joined the commission. I was already on. I've also worked with Bird, say, through Eco Club. She's been a very strong supporter of youth. Just very briefly, I want to say that Bird is a person who certainly can get things done. And what she, to me, really shows us is modeling. She really does what she would like us to do. She is really always rolling up her sleeves, really working hard for the community, and we have been very, very fortunate to have her. Thanks, that's all.
Thanks so much. Good morning, Jim.
Hi. My name is Jim Glover, Chair of the Humboldt County Human Rights Commission. I don't have much to add that you don't already know, but for the audience, I think they would appreciate knowing the fact that Bird's contributions to the community range all the way from Girl Scouts on the one hand to a project outside of the country, which I'm very fond of, and that's Sandy in Honduras, which is a program that she and a preschool companion 84 years ago when they first met. They have maintained this relationship through the years, and Sandy in Honduras is a program to aid children with club feet and cleft palates to have the proper procedures done to try to correct their situation. That's a little something that maybe a lot of people don't know. In the meantime, during all the other years that have gone on, Bird has officially and unofficially mentored groups to try to improve their function, to improve their outreach to the community, and the Human Rights Commission is certainly one of those. I don't know what I would have done without her advice and her leadership, and therefore I think the county has benefited from that as well, and I look forward to that continuing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hi, good morning.
I'm David Lochte, and it's true that Mom's given her organizational genius to Humboldt County pretty much all my life, and mostly for free. One thing I don't think is well known that I wanted to tell you about is back in the early 1970s, Mom and a group of Eurekans brought a recycling center to our city. There was no recycling in Eureka. Arcata had a small one, and I remember going up there and checking it out and saying, oh, they got the blue bottles here and the green bottles here. No one seems to remember the exact year. There was a group of them, and they brought a recycling center to Stout Street right off Wabash, and it was all volunteer. And at the beginning, the garbage company didn't like it, didn't want to do it. By the end of their tenure as a recycling center, it was handed over to them, and they, the city garbage company, took what had been prepared by these volunteers and folded it into the system that persists today. So that's another good thing Mom's done.
Thank you.
I served briefly with Bird on the Human Rights Commission. It was a pleasure. I don't know if you've been, those of you who've been around, she kind of has a positive karma aura around her. Everything that she does, she gets involved in so many diversified things. And we need more people like her as time goes by, because we have major human rights issues in Humboldt County, major problems here. And it's people like her who help find solutions to things, and I wish to thank her personally.
Thank you. Anybody else have a public comment on this item? Yes, please come forward. Kaylee, we're not going to time her.
One of the things that I would like to remind everyone in this room, particularly the Board of Supervisors, that the Human Rights Commission is preparing an event on constructive communication, constructive conversations, led by Mary Jelinas on October 22nd. And we are still looking for people to sign up for it. It only costs $20, and you will get your choice of one of Mary Jelinas' 2 books as part of the event. It's in the 4:45 in the evening until 7, so it can be after work. And we are hoping that not only people from elected people, but anyone from the community. So if you can come and bring someone else, please do so. You can register online through the Human Rights Commission, I think on Facebook. Is it still on Facebook? It's on Facebook, so you can register there. So I hope to see you all there. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Madrone. I'm sorry, that's going to close public comment, and then Supervisor Madrone.
Thank you, Chair. So I just want to congratulate you, Bird, on your decades of service as the president of the League of Community Servants here in Humboldt County. So thank you for your service, Bird.
It's funny, when I gave her her presentation, I told her, we haven't always agreed, and she says, no, we haven't, but that's good. And I appreciate this. But as we do all this, and probably the least known thing and everything else, when we talk about she gives it her all, I think she's probably donated 15 gallons of blood, if I'm not mistaken, to the Northern Community Blood Bank. 15 gallons. You know how much your body holds? So she's, Is it 40 now? And I think that's it. And I think that's, you're not catching up with Leon very quick, but that's a great thing, and I think that just shows the semblance, because she's not there to get her picture taken. She's there to get things done. And it's amazing how much you can get done if you don't care who gets the credit. And that's Bird, 100%. She doesn't care who gets the credit. She just wants to get her done. So, proud of you, Bird.
Supervisor Wilson?
I just associate myself with all of those, but I also want to bring up and thank you for your work with the League of Women Voters on the debates / forums that we've had over the years. I just want to say, like, that is something that we've done very well in this community, and I hope we continue and have the capacity to do that moving forward. And so I just want to really thank you for holding that little piece, or actually a big piece, of our civil society together during the times when sometimes it was a bit rough, and it may get rough again. So hopefully we'll find leadership like yourself to keep that tradition moving forward. So thank you so much for doing that.
I echo my colleagues, and also want to say those forums debates are really scary. My first one was, I didn't know what to expect, and I was pleasantly surprised, so thank you. And I agree with Supervisor Bohn. What you do is not for attention, and you just want Humboldt County and things to work better, and that's evident in all the speakers today. So thank you for your contribution to our community. Supervisor Bohn, you want to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to on this item.
Second.
Okay, Kaylee?
Supervisor Arroyo,
Yes, with gusto.
Supervisor Madrone,
Yes.
Supervisor Wilson,
Yes.
Chair Bushnell,
Yes.
Supervisor Bohn.
I don't know Gusto, but I'll have him help me too.
Let's give her one last round of applause. Thank you. So we'll go on to our third item pulled, resolution honoring the North Coast Stand Down. This also comes to us from Supervisor Bohn.
Is somebody here from the stand down? There you go. Thanks, guys.
You guys can come forward if you would like. Thank you.
It's a resolution for the Board of Supervisors, whereas on September 25th, 26th, and 27th, 2025, the North Coast Stand Down will take place at the Humboldt County Fairgrounds. Whereas the purpose of stand down is to reach out and provide a hand up to local veterans and their families, the term of stand down is a military one that is used at war times when exhausted combat soldiers requiring time to rest and recover were told to stand down and were taken from the battlefields to a place of relative security and safety. Whereas today's stand downs are held across the country as grassroots community-based events designed to help veterans obtain information about access to medical, employment, social services, legal, and other types of assistance. Approximately 1/3 of America's adult homeless population have served their country in the armed service. 1/3. Whereas the North Coast Stand Down is committed to providing access to additional short-term and long-term resources, including shelter for the weekend, opportunities to begin drug and alcohol recovery. Whereas, like the Stand Down, the most effective programs for veterans are community-based nonprofit Veterans Helping Veterans. Whereas the 2025 North Coast Stand Down will make a positive difference in the lives of local veterans and their families and raise community awareness of the needs of soldiers returning today. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors hereby recognizes and commends the 2025 North Coast Stand Down Committee and volunteers, all volunteers, by the way, for their efforts to address the needs of veterans on the North Coast and encourage all North Coast veterans in need of service. And I want to add, and for ones that are not getting the services they know that are realized for them. There's a lot of services the veterans get out there and says, oh, I can get that. There are services out there. Please use them to attend the stand down. Moved, signed by our chair, Michelle Bushnell.
Oh, I'll say just one. Are you going to say something? I'll go for it. You go ahead. Go ahead. Okay. So I'm Carrie Schrock, and I'm here for Renee Mavidi, who unfortunately couldn't be here today. So I'm the manager of the Veteran Service Office. So hello, everybody knows Renee. I'm sure she's fabulous. She has a great staff. So one of the services at the stand down will be people from the Veteran Service Office. A lot of people don't know about the benefits that they are entitled to. So anybody that's able to go down to the stand down or can go over to the Veteran Service Office. And I just want to say thanks to, are there some veterans here? So thank you if you are a veteran or anybody watching or listening. We really appreciate you and everything you've done for our country. And yeah, that's it. So thanks. And Renee was really sad she couldn't be here today. So
Thank you.
I just want to add one thing. The stand down starts this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 8 a.m. It's lots of services for lots of vets. Everything you can think of. I'm a co-coordinator of the dog pet service, and it's a great event. Thank you, guys.
Are there any comments from the board? Supervisor Bohn.
Trust me, Carrie, I was shocked Renee wasn't here because she's been a steadfast supporter. I've been able to go to everyone, help with Sons of Italy, serves a meal. The one number I always get is how many haircuts, and they do up to 200 haircuts over the weekend. 200 haircuts. So this is somebody that's getting back, and then the other services. And we have veteran services. Open Door has their dental lab and their medical lab. There's 3 medical labs. Our DHHS is there in force with about 4 or 5, 6 different groups covering all the bases that DHHS does, showing them the services that are available and actually opening the door for some of those people to use those services. I'm going to publicly apologize. I am not going to be there this weekend. I was telling the Sons of Italy I won't be there this weekend because I'll be I'm gone this week, but after the meeting. But it's such a great deal. I implore. I know some of our other supervisors have gone in the past, and it's recognizable when you hear that number. 1/3 of our homeless are veterans, and we keep hearing about that. And that's where we should start is our veterans, and then work from there. And I'm not putting them on a pinnacle or anything else. They've served us. Let's serve them.
Anybody else? Supervisor Wilson.
Just a short note, a huge thank you for the services for the stand down event, but also just a big thank you to the continuing services year round from all these agencies and folks and volunteers and vets halls and everybody. So just want to, many of these services are available year round. It's just that it's wonderful to have this concentration in one place to sort of remind people like this is a place where you can go and get it directly. But to anyone who needs those services, please reach out and someone will try and help you. Thanks.
I echo what Supervisor Bohn and Supervisor Wilson both said. I also would like to thank the Women's Auxiliaries provide food all weekend long, and it's a huge lift for them, and just really everybody that comes together for this function this weekend. But additionally, these services are available, and if you need them, do please reach out. And if you don't know where, you can contact one of us, or one of the veterans halls would know. So with that, if there's no other comments, Supervisor Arroyo.
I think everything's been said already, but as the veteran up here, I will say thank you. A special thanks to those who are making this happen and raising the awareness, and of course all the work that happens year round. And sometimes it can be frustrating and difficult to navigate the resources that are available both while you're serving and once you're discharged. So all of those are important pieces to put together for folks. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go out to public comment. We'll go to Zoom first.
There is none, Chair.
Okay, we'll go to, ma'am, this is public comment on this item. So this is on the North Coast stand down. If you have public comment on North Coast stand down, please come forward.
This is a very important thing, as pointed out by we have such a high percentage of our homeless are the veterans. Maybe we could consider starting with the veterans and kind of let's come up with a way to help them and help a lot of homeless people. Let's just go ahead and give them an exemption where if they want to have somebody who has facilities like a bathroom and a kitchen in their house, and they want to let somebody park an RV or someone's car or a tent trailer or whatever in front of their house where these people can come to, it's time we realize that we can't solve the homeless issue with what we're doing. And until we actually functionally allow people, and why can't we start with this particular group? Why can't we, in other words, adopt a veteran? If you are a veteran, let them have a trailer in front of their house. Let them have somewhere where these people can stay. That's how we can help them. It's just our rules and regulations in Humboldt County and all of California seem to really be getting in our way of solving these problems. So maybe we could be the tip of the spear and come up with a whole new plan through John Ford around here and start with the veterans to allow them to be kind of adopted by the community and helped. Thank you for my opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Hi. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Sonia Rausch, and I'm an associate architect. I'm also a homeowner in Willow Creek. Just speaking on the trailer thing right there.
So
I know Willow Creek.
Ma'am, you need to talk about the stand down.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about the stand down and the homeless. First, my first comment would be that someone should probably go around the neighborhood talking to the homeless that are on the street, letting them know about this. I don't think that they have access to televisions, honestly, to get the word out. Second, I've heard from the homeless people directly and veterans directly that they would like to have the electricity turned on 24 hours at the Arcado Plaza. I'm not sure if that's a possibility or not, but apparently they've been arguing for that for a while, and it's turned off it's only on for like the weekend, and it's only on during like 8 to 5 or something like that. So offering them a place to charge their phones so that they can actually have a place to do that. In Willow Creek specifically, there's an ordinance where you may not park a trailer in front of someone's home. And so if you could remove that ordinance, that would be helpful for people who may even want to be living out there who are veterans. And so I just feel like those 3 comments could probably help the homeless population a little bit more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Especially the veterans, since they're a third of the population.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name's Joanne McGarry, and I'm looking forward to taking a bus to the Humboldt County Fairgrounds on stand down to volunteer. I'm probably going to be late to the game signing up, but it's something I've really wanted to participate in, and I've missed it consistently, and so this year I'm not going to miss it. And I really appreciate the model that this might be for other types of gatherings for the helping people get the services they need in a concentrated place at a set time. So I just support you supporting this effort that happens every year at this time. And I'll let you know how the bus ride goes out there so we can maybe have it go regularly out to Ferndale and to the fairgrounds.
Thank you. Any other public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll close it and bring it back to the board for a motion.
I'll move the resolution for the North Coast stand down.
I'll second.
Supervisor Wilson,
Yes.
Supervisor Madrone,
Yes.
Supervisor Arroyo,
Yes.
Supervisor Bohn,
Please.
Chair Bushnell.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. We're going to go on to our next item, which is public comment on non-agenda items. Anybody that wishes to make public comment on non-agenda items can line up. And we're going to start with Zoom.
There is none, Chair.
Okay. So if you're here to speak on Yeehaw, that is later today, and it's not on, it won't be now on non-agenda items as that is on our agenda. But if you have a comment on non-agenda items, please come forward. Good morning again.
Good morning. I'm here today. My name again is Sonia Rausch, and I'm an associate architect. I do own a home in Willow Creek. I've been in this community for about 10 years. I was one of the first people to rent out in Willow Creek, contrary to anyone else who wouldn't do it based on there was too many problems with renters out there. We weren't having enough police enforcement, and I just would like to say that although there are about 10 other people who rent right now along with me, I am currently in my 5th eviction in 5 years. People go out to my residence, they pay a month or they don't pay at all, and they just break in and enter. I catch them within 2 weeks, they're officially trespassing, and I can't get law enforcement to do anything. I've been, fighting my 5th eviction this way. I've spoken to the deputy, the sergeant, the lieutenant, and at one point we had a captain, which we no longer have. And the captain did order the reinvestigation of what happened. But the scenario of what we've got going on here, and this is not uncommon because I meet people at the clerk at the Humboldt Superior Court every day who have the same problem. And most of the people who are having the issues are over 65. So it's very difficult to see someone who doesn't have the mental capacity to be doing an eviction when really there was a criminal offense that the Humboldt Police Department is not investigating. Now, I don't know if it's above their pay grade. I don't know if $25 an hour is enough to get somebody to make a criminal charge on someone who has a history of meth in their background. I honestly probably wouldn't do it myself either. But what I don't like is going out to my house, posting the house, and then having the police out there who were taken from the Yurok Police Department and then sent out to Willow Creek, and now they're exclusively Yurok tribe, and then having a Yurok tribe lady move in my house with her meth ring behind her coming from Eureka area and not having any help at all, being continually told to stand down and do an eviction. Fine, I did an eviction. This was never an eviction, and this isn't an eviction for every single person I've met over at the clerk's office. This is a big problem. And there needs to be an oversight board for the Humboldt Police Department because somebody's about ready to sue them. And I really think that somebody needs to talk to the governor as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning again, Chair Bushnell and Board. My name is Jim Clark, representing Redwood Region Audubon Society regarding a memorandum of understanding that will allow our chapter to hold environmental improvement events on county-owned property located at 2769 Lucas Street between Harris and Myrtle Avenues. This approximately 7-acre county-owned parcel in Third Slough is a tributary to Freshwater Slough and Humboldt Bay. Since 2019, it has been our intention to actively promote environmental restoration and enhancement on this property. We are not requesting funding for this project. we are requesting permission to spend our time and money on it. We plan to enlist other conservation-oriented organizations and the public to help in cleanup, removal of invasive plants, and plant and wildlife surveys. We are a 501c3 public benefit corporation, experienced and qualified to perform these activities under the California Public Resources Code. Before we can start work, however, a memorandum of understanding between our chapter and the county is required to begin work. Thank you, Supervisor Arroyo, for your help in getting us to this point and offering to nudge an MOU forward on July 30th. Not wanting to turn nudges into nags, we are here to enthusiastically urge completion of the MOU as soon as possible so that we can work with Humboldt County to enhance this property's environmental values. Let's get to work. I'm happy to answer any questions from the board as time allows. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning. Hi, I would just like to make a quick comment about the property at 472 Quarry Road. I was in the neighborhood a few weeks ago and I was picking huckleberries.
Sir, is that where Yeehaw is?
It's the same neighborhood, it's not the same parcel, not the same property. But anyway, I was in the neighborhood and there was a giant cloud of asbestos dust that was coming right at me and going over the property. And I had just heard that some of the neighbors had complained to the air quality board and heard nothing. And I've done that a few times, every time I've seen that happen. And it's just really, it's really frustrating to have no help from the air quality board when there's an imminent health and safety issue. And yeah, I just hope that there's no double standard here where if you're a large corporation, you can do whatever you want, whether or not it's impacting negatively the neighbors, it's a health and safety issue. I just hope that we truly value health and safety and that we hold everybody, corporate and private citizen, to the same standard, and that we uphold environmentalism, respect for the native land, and that carries through in the policy moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Humboldt County Board of Supervisors. Julie Threet. I drove over from Butte County today to advocate for the vaccine injured, specifically the COVID-19 vaccine, me being one of them. I'm literally traveling to every county in the state, your county number 31. I was a former healthcare worker at Enloe Medical Center, and I'm injured by the COVID vaccine. I have microangiopathy, which is a lesion on the brain, and I've had both retinas detached. I've had 5 emergency eye surgeries. I also go down to Sacramento to advocate against the Board of Pharmacy for this nightmare that we've got inflicted upon us. I worked at the Butte County Public Health Clinics and actually saw injuries right there in the clinic, and that's when things started to wake up and I started to do my research. I'm a member of the Medical Doctors for COVID Ethics International. I'm a member of the National Vaccine Information Center, where I'm certified to run information from VAERS, which is your Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. I have a report filed. I also filed a report for my mom, who died from 4 shots of Madrone while on vacation, a healthy woman. Last week, the CDC issued guidance and said, giving this shot to pregnant women is not a good idea. We have a medical tyrant running our state, and he said that giving the shot to pregnant women is a good idea. I would urge Humboldt County to make a decision. Which line are you going to stand on? The line with our tyrant governor and giving this shot to pregnant women and causing more fetal demise, or standing with what's right and what the FDA and the CDC are now providing guidance? I recommend that you go get this book. It's called The Pfizer Papers. This book contains everything that Pfizer lied to us about. Every single one of our counties that purchased this Pfizer product has been lied to and defrauded and should be filing a lawsuit. This book contains everything about the impact to our pregnant women, the fetal demise, the dangers to our children. And again, don't just believe me, do your research. I've given you 9 pages. I appreciate the fact that you gave copies over here for your public. MilitaryAccountability.net, for your veterans out there, and I appreciate that you care so much for your veterans. MilitaryAccountability.net, go look at the 97,000 veterans that have signed on to that site saying that this product is garbage and poison, has harmed our military. React19.org. Go look at the research papers that have been filed there. Again, I urge you to do everything you can to cease and desist this administration of this product. It should not be injected into our babies, most certainly not into our pregnant women, and most certainly not into our most vulnerable. I've given you some VAERS data. There's over 97,000 injured reports filed from members of this state, and there's over 500 deaths, including my mom. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, good morning, sir.
Good morning. My name is Ronald F. Owens, Jr. On April 14, 2022, Department of Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra said this regarding the COVID-19 vaccines, quote, "We know these vaccines are killing people of color, blacks, Latinos, indigenous people at about 2 times the rate of white Americans. I was a public information officer at the California Department of Public Health for more than 14 years. I saw on your website earlier this morning that it states that COVID-19 vaccines are safe, effective, and free. That is incorrect. As 33 noted, more than 96,000 Californians have filed injuries with the vaccine adverse event reporting system. There are more than 700 Californians who have died from the COVID-19 vaccines. Back in 2022, I brought this information regarding the injuries and the deaths resulting from the COVID-19 vaccines to my management. Unfortunately, they made it about me, the messenger, and not about you and the 40 million other Californians. I prematurely retired, immediately incurred a 55% pay cut, which was the difference between my salary and pension. I'm not sharing this with you to toot my own horn. I'm sharing this with you that I would not have risked a great job if I was not convinced that the COVID-19 vaccines are killing people. I sent this Board of Supervisors in July of 2024 all this information citing studies from Italy, Germany, Japan, indicating that these COVID-19 vaccines are killing people. I also follow up by sending this board and your 57 other boards of supervisors across California information updating that more than 400 people between July of 2024 and December 30 of 2024 have filed entries with the vaccine adverse event reporting system. As 33 noted, we're traveling from county to county. This is my 48th county. I have 10 more counties to go to share this life-saving information. You have a statutory responsibility, according to Health and Safety Code 101025, to preserve and to protect the public health. At least, at minimum, you need to inform your residents that the COVID-19 vaccines are not safe and are not effective. They are, according to the Nuremberg Code, must be provided with informed consent. I will follow up my comments by sending you another email.
Thank you, sir.
And I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Vernon.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Boards of Supervisors, ladies and gentlemen of Humboldt County. My name is Vernon Price, and I'm here to speak about Assembly Bill 348 that I believe you have in front of you. This was with no opposition in the Assembly and in the Senate, with no opposition also in the hearings. Assembly Bill 348, introduced in the 2025-26 legislation session by Assemblymember Maggie Kell, establishes presumptive eligibility criteria for full-service partnership, otherwise known as FSP, programs to provide timely access to services for individuals with serious mental illnesses who are homeless, recently released from incarceration, or transitioning from involuntary treatment. The bill would allow for immediate enrollment in FSPs by setting clear objective criteria for these high-risk individuals, ensuring criteria critical care is not delayed due to eligibility complexities. Key aspects of 348 presumptive eligibility, the bill creates a process where individuals meeting specific objective criteria are presumed eligible for FSP, allowing providers to enroll them without awaiting the full eligibility to be confirmed. Targeted individuals of the criteria for presumptive eligibility focuses on individuals with serious mental illnesses or SMIs who are experiencing unsheltered homelessness, transitioning from incarceration or involuntary treatment settings after 6 months or more. Frequently, psychiatric crises such as multiple 5150 detentions, FSP services. The bill aims to ensure access to comprehensive voluntary services known as Whatever It Takes Care, provided through full service partnership. I'm asking that the board would consider, if this is signed into law, I want to say thank you for the full service partnership that we already have, the implementations of positive aspects in people's lives. Continue to do the wonderful job that you're doing and not opt out on this, because there is an opt out of 200,000 or less population. And the last time I checked in 2024, the census, we are at 136.3. So please consider not opting out on this, to continue moving forward, improving the quality of life, building a stronger community and a more vibrant county that we all live in. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Supervisors. I didn't come
You
here
need to
this
talk into the microphone, please.
I didn't come here this morning to tell you that my decorated Vietnam War veteran older brother's lungs blew up last year after the vaccine, and that the same vaccine gave me a heart attack within 3 days and many, many, many high blood pressure events, which I was not sure I was going to survive. I didn't come here to tell you that. I came here to proselytize. I brought the good news. I've been studying the Bible. It is the Humboldt County Code. I have 5 copies of it. May I have
You can give
you?
it to our attorney, please.
This is the Humboldt County Code, chapter 1.5.
Sir, you have to talk into the microphone. Give it past that and come back to the microphone.
Modified limited density owner occupied code. And the good news is, for all of your constituents, is that it's much more broad than we thought, much more broad than the Building and Planning Department has been allowing. It clearly states that it is for the intended purpose of allowing for the creativity of the citizens of Humboldt County to build their own homes. It clearly states that the owner of the building is not necessarily the owner of the property. It's the owner of the person who actually built it. It could be the owner of the property, but it doesn't have to be. And it clearly states that after a year, if someone in that owner's family, it doesn't even have to be the builder, it could be their family living it for a year, that they can turn it over to someone else if they sign a release to the chief building official. It clearly states this, that the new occupant knowingly resides in a home that was not constructed to standard building practices. And I was pretty sure that I was getting a lot of obstruction over this code because it's precedent setting if it's understood properly. And I'm calling that the good news because it's good for your citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, good morning. Please come forward.
Hello, Council. My name is Mark Gazard, and I'm here to see if I could maybe encourage you to order an investigation into the Code Enforcement Office's procedures and conduct in seizing property. And it's very abusive, and it's really criminal because they've broken California and federal law. And so that's all I'm going to say right now, that, you know, it really needs, that department needs to be looked into. And I can't remember the name of the person that's in charge there, but Ford or something, but has been under the direction, they are, you know, serious violation of rights and actual law. So that needs to be investigated. So I'd like to see if you guys could order some investigation into this.
We don't do back and forth, but if you want to have a conversation with one of the supervisors, please email us and we can do that. And
Okay, so that would be the way to do it. Okay, I wasn't sure how to go about it. I just
Sure.
wanted to bring it to your attention.
Thank you.
Everybody's attention. Okay.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm going to read a little bit from this document. It's should be in the county record somewhere. It's from the Code Enforcement Task Force, findings and recommendations from September 2008, Humboldt County Supervisor Joanna Madrone. So just a couple things from here. On finding number 4, it said, there's an ombudsman mediation employee within the department, and it does not appear this position is being utilized to help solve some cases assigned to the Code Enforcement Unit. And the recommendation was to form a committee of ombudsman mediators to refer people to assist in finding solutions to cases assigned to the CEU whenever feasible. And my friend Tyson Rankin recently had his property abated. He lives in Fairhaven. And the code enforcement complaints that led to his property being abated were placed by this guy Zwirling, who apparently wants to own all of the property in Fairhaven for his own purposes. And 6 different families, it's my understanding there's 6 different families in Fairhaven that Zwirling has complained on, and he wants their land. And this is a weaponization of a county department by a developer against people who have lived there. Some of the people who he's complained on have owned that land for 30 years. And having this ombudsman or mediation person to help these people navigate these cases is really important. And I don't know if that's still available. This is from 2008. I'll just skip to the end here. Finding 6, there is a considerable gap between current housing element policies, i.e. the alternative owner build, gray water permits, etc., and the actual implementation of said policies. Good and accurate information in regard to permitting inquiries provided by the county will eliminate many of the problems sent to the Code Enforcement Unit. The recommendation is that the county needs to be forthcoming and transparent when citizens inquiring about permitting alternative building methods. The county should take steps to recognize, allow, and encourage all of the current alternative owner build standards. These were the standards in place in 2008. And to develop new or adopt existing proven environmental health codes for sanitation and water management. This is referring directly to composting toilets. I will just say that our governor just signed a budget bill that had a rider that's going to put the COVID vaccine on all the children's plates for this school year. And I think that that's criminal. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello. My name is Kevin, and I just wanted to express my disappointment and frustration as a citizen and community member of Humboldt County towards the approach that you guys are taking with code enforcement and property rights. I remember the Ruth Bader Ginsburg decision specifically pointed out undue fines and procedures, which was directed at county governments for a civil asset forfeiture in regards to excessive use by code enforcement. And Humboldt County's response was, it doesn't apply to us. And I think there needs to be a radical approach towards property rights, how code enforcement is utilized. And then I think maybe that would help with the homeless problem, which I believe Governor Newsom just put out like a whole mandate that counties have to deal with this. And I think there needs to be a radically different approach. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello again, my name's Joanne McGarry. I did take the bus today and I'm wearing my Ride Humboldt shirt proudly because I like to promote Humboldt Transit Authority, which I really applaud for being present both days of the North Country Fair and showing off their hydrogen bus and really educating people about the buses that they can take in our community. So I just wanted to applaud them for being present at an event like that, because I think it really helps. And they had a booth and get a lot of traffic, and they were answering a lot of questions. So in that regard, I am really grateful for that. I'm wearing my Mad Hatter hat because, like the White Rabbit, I'm late, I'm late, I'm late, we're late, we're late, we're late on the climate action plan. And I'm just, again, asking what's going on, because we know what we need to do, and we just need to finalize this regional action plan. And please, let's find out what's the delay in that. And my final thing, because I do like to talk in threes, is to remind you that I and so many others around the world are hoping for safe passage for the global Samud flotilla that's sailing with over 44 boats, maybe 50 boats from 44 different countries to bring humanitarian aid to the shores of Gaza. And they're just a few days away, and may we see safe passage for Greta Thunberg and all those dedicated volunteers who are doing the task that our countries should be doing to help the people in need in Gaza.
Thank you.
Doesn't bother me, but for those of you at the dais who do not maintain eye contact with these other speakers, I think they may feel disrespected that you're not listening or paying attention. I suggest that people do maintain eye contact. Doesn't bother me a bit. Read what you want, ignore me, no problem. I've noticed a real problem, and it's somewhat religious related. If people feel that there's no heaven or hell, they feel there's no consequences in life, I guess. And these are people who, in my opinion, make their own hell on earth or their own heaven on earth. And they'll have to live with it. That's just what it is. I have a problem with people who lie, who do not tell the truth. And this can have devastating effects. So I'm going to give you an example of a terrible lie, one of the worst ones I've ever seen. If you're a parent, you'll know what I'm talking about. I'm going to read you a little something regarding from someone, and she's not here today. She's taking care of a 94-year-old lady. The family had an emergency, otherwise she'd be here. During my dependency court case, a document was submitted to the court by Child Welfare Services, CWS, and Minors Council. The document alleged that my 5-year-old daughter's therapist had stated that minor no longer needs her mother, no longer speaks of her, has replaced her mother with her father. If you're a parent, and this was entered fraudulently entered by CWS into the courts, which they make decisions on, then you can imagine, and the devastation. You already have somebody who's probably in depression, who has all kinds of things in their life negative. This could push someone over the edge. So the truth was, months later, after dependency proceedings ended, I was no longer restricted from speaking with my daughter's therapist. It took them a year to get her in therapy to start with. I raised the issue directly with her. I referenced a statement that had been attributed to her in the court record. Upon hearing this, her jaw dropped and she responded. I have chills. I absolutely never would have said anything like that. The truth of the matter is, when a plan was put together by the minor and her counselor, it was basically brought into effect. The daughter's thing, her main desire in this counseling, her desire to be with her mother and her ongoing struggle to cope with missing her. So in other words, the opposite is true. And I have a problem with when these kind of things are used by CWS and their weaponized system to basically do what they do to families and children. And this is ongoing. We'll talk about this a little later. You have 5 cases in litigation. They're all related to this kind of thing. And I hate to have to be so negative, but this is unforgivable in my opinion. Nobody should have to put up with that kind of, I won't use initials. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hi, sir. Do you have a public comment on non-agenda items?
Yeah.
You need, can you come to the microphone right there? And I think it needs to be turned on. Hold on.
Yeah, wanted to proceed.
Hold on, please. I don't think the microphone's on.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Don't be. Is it? I don't know. AD. Try that. Try that. It's on?
Hello?
Not sure you can get close enough.
Hello? Sorry.
You're fine. Don't
Usually
apologize.
I'm reprimanded for talking too loudly, so there you go. Anyway, one is a procedure change. I'm in the process of trying to evict somebody. And I put it down that the police could do the eviction thing. I didn't get the thing back in the mail, like apparently I was supposed to, that said that they just gave up. Now, apparently, I don't understand this at all. The procedure should be, this guy's got a car. Police know who it is. Why don't they just like put out an APB, go give him the notice, and it's done? That's what I thought they were going to do, is something like that. But what I got back was the sheriff's office told me that, oh no, they can't do that because you wouldn't expect them to, knock and just barge into the guy's house. Well, they don't need to barge into the guy's house, but yeah, actually, I've lost $7,500 so far. I've never had this sort of thing happen before. I'm a really good landlord, but some people aren't really good people. And this guy just decided he didn't want to pay, and he could just keep living up there. I don't know. So I think you should have some sort of procedure change, because there's absolutely no reason that the police can't issue. Well, you already have to. This is like the third step. Then there's one after this before you get rid of them. So that was my main comment.
Thank you, sir.
There are a bunch of little minor things that I think you should review. And probably also bring more people up for the self-help. Sometimes they're pretty backed up. Today they're not, but most days they really are. And those people are very helpful, by the way. Anyway, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are y'all doing on the Board of Supervisors in Humboldt County? I'm here instead of working and growing food and staying in pace with the seasons as an organic farmer, because I feel like capital really dictates the movements of my government here. And I feel like the government seems to impose the will of capital over the will of people. And I get it. Corporations are people too. That was already a precedent in our country. Seeing common people pushed around, like I think of that Mary Garth out in Blue Lake, getting how the county would work with this developer so the developer can make money on their capital investment and spend a bunch of our money and the general fund money, so you guys say one thing, there's always never enough money. It's a beautiful new tiled bathroom you have in this courthouse. I want to appreciate the work and the craftsmanship that went into making this a more respectable governmental institution. I'm sure that cost a pretty penny to put in that beautiful bathroom. I encourage anybody here to have a nice long visit to that restroom. It's the nicest public restroom in Humboldt County, right here in the courthouse, seat of power. Giving thanks and praise, man. Nothing like a good public restroom to feel dignified in. How much it would have really cost the county when you go to all your administrative fees, all your bureaucrats, your inspectors. How much would it really cost to have given an old woman who had difficulties getting along in society, who had known difficulties getting along in society, who was entitled to, what do they call it when you have like a learning disability or you have some kind of disability? You need accommodations, entitled to accommodations. How much would it have cost you guys to accommodate her to clean up her things? Send a public helper, send her a dumpster. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment on non-agenda items from the audience? Hi, good morning.
I've had a 3-hour drive to come and speak to you. I am a nurse. I've been a nurse for 12 years. I've been providing health care in my county for 25 years of my life. I'm a geriatric nurse. I specialize in taking care of people in nursing homes. And I wanted to share with you what I experienced during COVID and the violation of my patients' constitutional rights and their basic human rights has pretty much left me choked with rage for the last 5 years. I watched healthy, active, social members of society get locked in their rooms like errant children. They were cut off from their families. They were cut off from public resources. The only people they had were us that worked there. When my patients were dying and they needed their families the most, they weren't allowed to come in and visit. I was sneaking family members to windows to say their goodbyes. What concerns me now is you've heard from 2 of my colleagues about hundreds of people dying from the COVID messenger RNA. It's not even a vaccine, it is a poison. That is a quantum fraction of what's really going on out there. The insurance actuaries are releasing information that thousands of people just in the US are dropping dead every day. Globally, we are talking at least 3 million people have died from this poison. You know, everyone's so concerned about genocide in Palestine. Well, we have a genocide going on here in this country and nobody's paying any attention. 15% of the population of the United States refuse to bow to tyranny, and they are the only ones who've been speaking out. And for that, they've lost their homes, their jobs, everything that they valued because they dared speak truth. So what I would like to share with you is the next one that's coming, and there will be another one. Do not tell people what to do with their bodies. We are sovereign. We have the right to autonomous decisions about our health care. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we don't clap, please, during public comment. We have one person that came in just as I was closing public comment on Zoom. I'm going to allow it, and Kaylee's going to open it up.
Thank you, Chair. Caller 38336, I will unmute you and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, I'm Elaine Johnson, and I've been on this line for like 10 or 15 minutes, so I didn't come in at the end. You're slipping in, so I'm not sure what, maybe I misunderstood the comment, but I've been just waiting. Anyway, I'm new to this process and am fascinated by it and concerned by it because of, for the public to comment. It's very difficult for us because this isn't our jobs. We're not government workers necessarily, don't know these processes or government speak or jargon or all these abbreviations. And so I'm trying to get more involved. And so I have 3 questions. Generally, there's 2 to 3 minutes to comment. I'm wondering if I can ask a question and then have it answered by you, turning my time over to you to answer the question that I have. And the second question I have out of 3 is, can I request time from other community members if I use up my 2 to 3 minutes? Say there's several of us having similar thoughts and I want to just present and they give me their time. Can I do that? And the final question is, if time permits in this public time of discussion, can I come back if there's time permitting? Can I come back and have another 2 to 3 minute comment that's on a completely different topic? Thank you.
Thank you. So please call the clerk of the boards and they will explain public comment process. And yes, you can call back in for public comment on different agenda items. And no, we're not going to have a back and forth, but thank you for your comment today. And we're going to move on to our next item after we use the beautiful bathrooms. So 5 minutes. Okay, we are back and we are going to go to our 9:45 time set, which is coming to us from the CAO's office, and I'll let our CAO introduce that.
Thank you, Chair Bushnell. Before your board today is a presentation on the County of Humboldt's 2025 State Legislative Program. And we have with Shaw, Yoder, Antwich, Schmelzer, and Lang. I appreciate that name. And also we have Karen Lang and Clifton Wilson along with Deputy CAO Sean Quincy to present to your board today.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Chair Bushnell, members of the board. This is one of my favorite items to bring to your board every year. This item marks the end of the legislative calendar for the year, but also the beginning of our process to develop our legislative platform for next year, where we express our state and federal priorities to our state and federal delegates. Your board and members of and department heads met with our state advocates yesterday to talk about some issues that have been impacting their departments and their services over the last couple years, and begin to express some of the desires that they want to pursue in the next year. But Karen Lang and Clifton are here to talk about the session that has occurred this year, some of the important bills that we've been tracking, and give you an early outlook into what to expect for the next year. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Karen.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Thank you for having us. This is Clifton's first visit to the county, so it's been fun showing him around and introducing him to you. He got a chance to understand how important that EDD building is in the downtown core, so it was nice to contextualize some of the things we've been talking about. Really appreciate you hearing from us this morning. Wanted to sort of set the stage of where we are in point in time. The state legislature runs on a 2-year session, so we are right in the middle. They adjourned on Saturday the 13th. Initially, they were supposed to adjourn on Friday the 12th. They have what's called a 72-hour in print rule. And there were some very large ticket items they could not reach agreement on between, it's called a 3-party agreement. The Senate, the Assembly, and the governor were working on several 3-party agreements at the same time. Before they could put any bills in print, they had to reach those agreements. Those agreements didn't come together until really late Tuesday night, so they put bills in print really on Thursday, so we had to work all day on that Saturday the 13th until about 3 in the afternoon so they could close them up. When they adjourned through January, with the exception of whether or not the governor calls back the legislature for a special session, which I could talk about in a moment. But contextually, in 2025, 2,833 really great ideas were introduced into print. 791 of them remain on the governor's desk for his action. He can sign it, he can veto it, and if you look at a bill and it says I'm returning this bill without my signature, that is the very polite way that the governor says he has vetoed your bill. And then if he doesn't do anything, it becomes the law without his signature. The last governor to do that was Governor Brown several years ago. Governors usually like to take proactive action either way on bills. But he's got quite a few to go, 791 of them. And then he has already signed this year 455 new bills, new laws. Some of those are budget bills, and there's quite a few of them, but there are quite a few policy bills that have been enacted as well. Obviously, the biggest bill that the governor signs every year is the budget. It's no greater statement of priorities. Unfortunately, with the roller coaster we are all on when it comes to our relationship with the federal government, there are grave concerns in Sacramento about maintaining a balanced budget. Some of the biggest impacts of H.R. 1 have not really been visited upon us yet. But I think it's important for the public to understand when you hear about a federal reduction in Medicaid programs, that is not equal across all 50 states. California has done many innovative things that are based on waivers that you can actually, the state has managed to draw down more funding through Medicaid than many other states. So when we talk about reductions, the impacts could also be greater in California. We are actively coordinating with CSAC, with RCRC, with the statewide associations of department heads that are deeply invested in health and human services delivery in the counties to try to help our clients navigate H.R. 1 as it begins to be implemented. Really, in 2027 is where we really get into it. But I would note that it usually takes the state about a year to stand up regulations or programs in health and human services. So we really, 2027 is just a blink of an eye away. And I want to emphasize that for the public. A lot of work's got to happen between now and then. Yesterday, we had a really nice series of visits with your department heads and with you individually. I really wanted to commend your economic development staff. They are looking for wins for you. I anticipate, based on the conversation that we had and the change regarding federal support for offshore wind, to try to work with GoBiz and other entities to help bring something new to the county and help reinvigorate the port concepts that were really focused on offshore wind and the changes there. Hopefully we can find some new things to work on there. Wanted to also acknowledge your delegation. You have an Energizer bunny for a state senator. And if you look in our report, you can see the various things that he did very specifically for you. It's awesome. Yeah, I cannot take any credit for it. He just does it, and he's just really wonderful. He's going into his last year as your state senator. Term limits will be sending him on his way. But he went out swinging for you and for the North Coast. It's not often you get to see that many wins in the North Coast all at once, and I cannot take a single moment of credit for any of it. Your senator is awesome, and he was doing everything he could for his district. He will be stepping down as pro tem in November. Senator Monique Limon will be taking over. She is a Central Coast Senate Democrat, and she'll be assuming that role. It was not anticipated to happen until January or February, but like I said, there were some really tense moments in the final stretch of the session trying to land the cap and trade renewal, which they eventually did. They did a bill to create a regional grid, which is of direct interest to you because you have infrastructure needs here for energy that are unmet. The state is going to be joining with other states to have a more regional grid. So if we have excess renewable energy here and another state, they've got fog, so their solar is not turning and burning, we can export our extra solar to another state and vice versa, so we can have a more reliable grid. But there's going to be funding tied to that should be used to help update the grid and increase the infrastructure. And I know for a fact that you have unmet need here. Your legislators know you have unmet need here. They worked on that. The governor did try to do some things around the Bay Delta that did not work out for him. There's also the matter of the wildfire recovery fund. Your constituents will see a rate increase from this. When utilities are found to be culpable for fires, there is a fund that the state has established where the insurance companies who've had to pay out to their insureds can turn around and subrogate what they had to pay out, since it wasn't their fault and it wasn't the fault of the homeowner, it was the fault of the utility. Because of what happened in January, and thank you, I'm from there, I appreciate you being down there to help my hometown rebuild. It appears as though it's possible Edison will be found liable for the Eaton Canyon fire, and the amount of money that will cost is in the billions. And so the wildfire recovery fund that was set up after the series of fires we had years ago is almost depleted, and the insurance companies need that fund in order to stay in the game. And so the final deal will generate about $18 billion for that wildfire recovery fund, but $9 billion of it will come on our utility bills. And anybody in an investor-owned utility service territory is going to be paying for that. The rest of it has to come from the utility itself. I don't really know how they generate that revenue except for through ratepayers, but somehow the other half of it will come from the utilities themselves. And then finally, the Proposition 4 allocations, that was a very testy period of time as the legislature was closing down. Proposition 4 was approved by the voters last year. It includes $10 billion for various resource-related expenditures, climate resiliency, et cetera. There is some money moving out, but just about a third of what was ultimately in Prop 4. As a reminder to the public, debt service is very expensive right now because interest rates are so high. So the state has to pay for when they borrow money too. We have to pay interest rates too. And so there's a capacity for how much money the state can afford to borrow right now because it eats into the general fund planning for expenditures. So we have several bills that we were very engaged on your behalf. A couple I just wanted to highlight for you. One of my favorite stories working here is the challenge that some of your livestock owners have with disposing with cows that have passed away. And your UC cooperative here has encouraged us to try to pursue legislation that would allow you to deal with composting. And when I told the story of why the county needed it to the author, it was because the story was that a farmer had to take a cow out to the ocean to deal with it. And the author was like, you need to come to every committee hearing and we want you to tell that story to the microphone. Anyway, that bill was enacted. It's on the governor's desk, and you all became sort of the darling of Assemblymember Pappin's office. But also I wanted to really give, it was in your paper this morning, so I'm sure you've already seen it. Assemblymember Haney's bill to provide some relief on the cannabis tax was signed yesterday. That's a big deal for communities like yours. It's not a statewide problem, but it's definitely a thing for your growers. And so hopefully that provides some relief to folks that are trying to follow all the rules. Also wanted to point out a bill that did not pass, and give all the credit in the world to RCRC and to Senator McGuire. AB 470 related to the carrier of last resort concept. That bill would have allowed AT&T to cease providing plain old telephone service in about a decade. And for communities that do not have consistent and reliable power, and you are the county with the highest percentage of outages, and also couple that with income challenges. Your county, Sean was absolutely wonderful to work with in coordinating the North Coast counties that all had concerns, and the bill was held in the Senate. And a lot of that work was related to Senator McGuire really leaning in hard to where his district was and what would happen to constituents here that would lose telephone service, because the alternative would be cellular, and if you have a power outage and then your cell phone towers don't work, you can't call 911. And so all the work that was done at the staff level and the coordination across counties was remarkable, and I want to make sure your staff gets a hat tip for that. And then as we're getting ready for 2026, time's flying, we will have a new Senate leader. That will mean new Senate chairs, most likely. I don't know where Senator McGuire will land. I sure hope he goes back to the Senate Local Government Committee. It's always nice to have former supervisors and mayors and council members on the local government committee that can advocate for you. And we will see how that shakes up. It's going to be quite a year with the governor having an eye towards Washington, D.C. and how he chooses to prioritize things in the final year of his governorship. And then we will have obviously some statewide races that will be very interesting to watch. And so with that, I'm happy to turn it over to you, Madam Chair, for any questions that you might have. And thank you again for having us. It's really been nice.
Thank you. Thank you both for coming up and taking the time yesterday to meet with myself and my colleagues. Anyone have questions from the board? Supervisor Bohn.
Well, for years, I've always appreciated everything you've done for our county and your efforts to reach out. I, for one, appreciate all the work you did, AB 470 with Tracy. I mean, we've got some great legislative advocates and we've got quite a few of them at RCRC, and they really beat the brush for us. They don't beat their own drum, but they go out and do a lot of stuff. I get to interact with them quite a bit. I appreciate your, Clifton, for being at the annual meeting. I think that was with AI, the empowerment of youth, and actually having, for the second time in 2.5 years, having Patty Poppy, the CEO of PG&E, come speak to our board meeting on Friday morning. And she literally got it handed to her. Literally got it handed to her. I was just amazed, and she took every swing, took it well, standing up and answered a lot of questions that in the long run, hopefully will make some changes. So I appreciate everything you do. I think, yeah, I'd love for legislation for every new bill, we take an old bill out. But, you know, I don't see that happening. But I do appreciate all your efforts and what you do for our county. Thank you.
Supervisor Arroyo? Well, thank you for helping us get our requests in the ear of, you know, pro tem in particular, but the $5 million for the Behavioral Health Triage Center and the $750,000 for Sorrel Leaf, those are direct to the county for critically important behavioral health facilities for youth and all ages. So that is amazing. That's truly exciting, and we're very grateful for that. I didn't get to ask you about one yesterday. Do you like being put on the spot?
I'll do the best I can.
I've been following SB 707, the open meeting, all the complexity with all of the teleconferencing changes that's proposed. And it looks like it's just in the cleanup phase right now after all the changes. And I just wondered if you have any idea where that stands.
Yes, Clifton knows this one too. So for your awareness, so our CSAC sponsored a bill with Senator Arreguín to create or to extend some sunsets for you all related to public meetings and the remote access. There was a separate meeting or a separate bill pursued by Senator Durazo, and she is the chair of Senate Local Government. So there was some deference given to her bill. So about halfway through the year, SB 239, the Arreguín bill, was added into the Durazo bill and they were going to move forward together. The special districts had a lot of concerns with 707. There's compliance issues, there's financial burdens, and as you know, the Public Records Act and the Brown Act don't get state funding for you to comply with these requirements. The open meeting requirements are unfunded mandates on you. And so adding additional costs for translation and the remote meeting challenges for, you know, smaller communities, small special districts really are, while wonderful, are very expensive. And so there were a lot of concerns expressed that in the additional requirements that were coming with allowing remote meetings to continue on were really challenging for a lot of special districts. So we were told in the last week that 707 was going to be parked, and they were going to try to spring loose by rule waivers measures that would just extend the sunset so that that could continue. And then the rule waivers were not granted. So then 707 was resuscitated when we thought it was had gone to inactive. So we sent this frantic updated memo to your CO's office over the weekend. Hey, we got direction, this is being parked, and now they've reversed course. What was promised is cleanup legislation in January and a hearing on all of these things that are a challenge and an unfunded mandate. I would, you know, no local government I work for is trying to prohibit the public from participating in your meetings. It's just a matter of resources and logistical challenges with doing some of the things that that the legislature wants to see happen if remote participation is going to be allowed. So there's a lot to work through, and not every county is the same size and with the same resources, and not every city and not every special district has the same resources. A metropolitan water district is an enormous, well-resourced special district, but a small, you know, like a mosquito and vector control district has a very different set of circumstances, and the bills have to work for everyone, and so there's going to have to be cleanup. But 707 went the way it was without any amendments at the end. And a lot of local government lobbyists were feeling singed at the end there on how that went down. But we'll be going right back at it in January to try to fix as much as we can.
Great. That just seems like one where we might want to provide some additional input where there is, if it's going through the cleanup process,
Yes.
Because it's very robust right now, adds a lot of new requirements, but has a lot of new possibilities for our, I'm not thinking of our board, I'm thinking of our, all of our many JPAs and commissions and other structures where we draw people who are volunteers from all over the county and anyway, who are very interested in remote participation, at least in the winter months and things like that. So thank you for that update, and I'd be very interested in communicating more on that.
Supervisor Wilson?
Thanks, appreciate it. Appreciate all the efforts you guys have been doing. There's more on this list than you've mentioned, so I think that's great. I do want to say that I did hear from constituents within this community around AB 564 and the loss of funding. So I know that, while there are concerns about cannabis retail tax and the impact it can have on the, maybe the illegal market, we also have to acknowledge that Humboldt County is a huge recipient of the funding that comes from those taxes, and kind of outsized. I mean, we get probably more money per capita, for our programs, especially environmental programs and cleanup, than probably almost any county in the state of California relative to that taxation. So we're kind of one of the biggest beneficiaries. So I know that we took a stand against it, but I do want to emphasize that we are one of the bigger beneficiaries as well from a financial perspective in terms of spending in our county. And so I'm hoping we can have but just a little bit more nuanced conversation about that in the future if something like that comes up again. I do want to thank you guys for helping out in sort of the defeating the language in that was SB 364 or 770 and then, AB 770 and then 364, which would have allowed billboards across the state as a structure to be exempt from all environmental code, zoning, as well as even worker safety code for rebuilding those structures and any construct, and that included on buildings and in wetlands and everywhere else. And so I'm sure the Billboard Association will be coming back soon with trying to go at that again, but we'll see what we can do about that. And then the language that was very concerning about I think it was SB 462. It was in relation to disasters in counties where it would exempt all new ADUs in the coastal zone if there was a disaster anywhere in the county. Thus, basically, if there was a disaster in wherever it was. We didn't take a stand on it necessarily, but I appreciate the conversations that we were able to have about that. And thanks again for helping push back on AB 470. And literally this weekend, I had several constituents ask me about, they didn't even know about this bill necessarily, but they were telling me about their service and the needs for the landline service, and how, well, honestly, how they were feeling already ignored by the phone company in terms of the outages they were already having, and their just the lack of feeling responded to by the companies themselves. So thanks for all that. And there will always be more. And I know there was a lot of conversations around CEQA language that was a battle for sure at all levels for all different things. I want to thank not just you guys, but our local environmental groups and their conversations around that. I think that they actually helped that come to a much better place than where it started. And yeah, it's great to have you in Sacramento. Very much appreciated. I appreciate it when I come into your office every once in a while for for a break from the heat or wherever it is. Just letting people know, like some of us when we're in Sacramento, we're bopping around from office to office, and it's great to have an office that we can get into and get a cold drink, soda, and you know, and just relax for a minute and also catch up on some stuff. So I really appreciate that too. So thanks for coming in, and I look forward to working together.
Supervisor Madrone?
Thank you, Chair. So yeah, thank you for all your hard work. It's always quite a gauntlet going through all this stuff each year. I'm particularly grateful to the senator for putting in his trailer bill, which are never very popular, but those that have the power use it. And he certainly, as you said, went out swinging. But for his allocation of $50,000 for doing the initial feasibility financial analysis for incorporation for McKinleyville. I think that, you know, it's something we've been working on for a long time, and something the community is very much looking forward to, having the data, you know, about the potential for incorporation of what is it's definitely the third, if not the second largest non-city in Humboldt County. And having that data is going to allow our community to actually have an informed discussion about the pros and cons of incorporation. So it's not saying we're going to incorporate, but it's the next step forward to looking at it and exploring it. So very, very grateful for that. There is some concern about the CEQA exemption for the Great Redwood Trail that's been expressed because there were a lot of promises made to the ranching community and to the Native American community out there in the Eel River Canyon. And we kept saying to them, hey, we're going to be doing CEQA, and now it's exempted. So that's created a lot of concern, and I frankly, being on the Great Redwood Trail Board, wish that whoever pushed that forward would have come and talked to us about whether or not it would be helpful or not. I certainly understand the need for exemptions for things like housing and a whole lot of things, frankly speaking. But in that particular case, I'm not sure it was the right thing to do, so I'll just say that. I know you guys had nothing to do with that, frankly, but just need to say that. So, but anyway, really grateful for the allocation for McKinleyville. Thank you.
Thank you. I echo my colleagues' thoughts and appreciate all the work you do for the county and for the constituent base. And I will open it. I'm going to open it for public comment. We'll go to the Zoom first.
There is none, Chair.
Okay, we'll go to public comment in the room.
Well, I always enjoy what I refer to as being over 70, the young whippersnappers outlook on things. A functional economy that I've seen over years, we are at exactly or within 1 percentage point of the correct amount of interest expense. Having gone through a time period when I had AAA credit and was one of the few loans that we got to cash out a partner at 10 cents on the dollar, paying 24% and 5 points from Transamerica. That's what it has been before your time. So I relish where it is right now, because you may see that happen again. There is no reason that I understand that CEQA should be eliminated for anything. CEQA has been totally gutted by the state. I don't care whether it's trails or a human imprint on here. CEQA was very limp, and now it's near non-existent. You can talk to Larry Glass or anybody in the environmental community. It's very sad to see those exemptions made for any reason whatsoever. That's kind of a slap, one of the few things we actually did good for Mother Nature, and we're throwing it out for any excuse they come up with, and that's ridiculous. I do have, you know, politics is extremely irritating to me in general. I do have a problem with a lot of the things that are going on politically on both parties, and I don't appreciate the activities that are going on out there. We in Humboldt County have a very unique place, and when I have a politician who comes to me and he promises to keep all the Eel River water in the Eel River Basin and then does the opposite, I have a problem with those people. And when he's in this forum sometime, I will confront that politician directly to him. That was a promise that I was lied to. Regarding power, for those of you who understand power a little bit, and I do have people, not myself, but very connected, now you'll see that nuclear power most likely will be replacing fossil fuels and wind and solar power. They're taking and they're reusing the existing nuclear rods. They're repurposing those. It'll be small little places that are put around. This was brought to me by people who participate with NASA and MIT for years. I mean, this is the outlook of the power. They just don't put them on faults. I mean, that just doesn't work. But you're going to have small localized things, and they will be reusing and repurposing the rods that are in storage out there, is my understanding. So that, I think, should be a realistic thing. There's things, if Supervisor Wilson can tell you, out in Blue Lake, there's a manhole cover that says center of the universe, right on a manhole cover, so we know where that is. If you look out in front of the building here, Humboldt County's building, there's a little planter there, and I consider it to be tells me what's going on regarding the county and the state. And there was a dead plant there, they pulled it out and they put a new one in, and that plant's dying also, so I don't know, that's not good. These are bellwethers, little things you just kind of look at. How come we have palm trees that aren't maintained and cactus in front of our building? They have an opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Hello again.
Hi, guys. I'm just here to throw 2 cents in on that guy. I don't think he's necessarily wrong about the big scale thing with the nuclear. We did toss the nuclear non-proliferation treaty lately, which is kind of what prevented the reburning of spent uranium. John Albers isn't here to talk to you guys today, but my father was his employee. I grew up with John Albers. I know a lot about the nuclear. Reburning spent nuclear rods down to lead is the safest thing to do with them, and if that's what they're doing, I don't think we should be necessarily afraid of that, but yeah, it's an undervalued stock right now for all you capitalists.
Thank you. Any other public comment on this platform? Seeing none, I'll close public comment and bring it back to the board.
I will make the motion to receive and file this report.
I'll second. And thanks again for coming up.
See you soon.
Supervisor Bohn?
Yep.
Supervisor Arroyo?
Yes.
Supervisor Madrone?
Yes.
Chair Bushnell?
Yes.
Supervisor Wilson?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, we're going to go on to our next item, which is a public hearing coming to us from Planning and Building. No, Mike did. I seconded.
Morning, Chair Bushnell and members of the Board of Supervisors, John Ford, Rodney Yandell, and Augustus Rochelle, to present a modification to the administrative procedures of the zoning ordinance.
Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing.
Okay. So these are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Rochelle just to get right into it.
Good morning, Supervisors. We're proposing some amendments to our action and decision codes for the express purpose of allowing electronic delivery of notices of action. That's a fancy way of saying we want our administrative team to be able to only send emails when the Planning Commission or the director make decisions on different projects. Excuse me. To make that work, we adjusted the code to say we require electronic mail, but because not everybody necessarily, goodness gracious, excuse me. Sorry. Because not everybody necessarily has email, we've included first-class mail as an alternative, just in case. We've also, our current code refers to them as notices of final action. County Council has advised us that it does not, thank you, necessarily meet the same definition of final as you would see in State Law Section 1094.6, which is a fairly specific definition of final. And the board decisions more accurately match that definition of final, which requires first-class mail to be sent as part of that decision. So your decisions still require first-class mail. To add on to this situation, we've also included for notices before a hearing. Sometimes they require 20-day notice per State Code Section 65854. That's specific to basically zoning amendments where the ordinance affects the permitted uses of real property. So we foresee this having an annual fiscal savings of a little bit over $10,000, and we recommend adoption of the ordinance and findings of making the findings in the resolution as described in the staff report. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? No? Supervisor Arroyo.
Sorry, I think I missed it, but when people don't use email, what's the provision?
First class mail,
Okay.
that's the same as the current requirement of
Sure.
admin.
So folks can just say, look, I don't use email, and they get mail. Easy. Okay.
Precisely.
Great.
Okay, we'll go out to public comment. We'll go to the Zoom first.
There is none, Chair.
Go to the room.
The biggest thing on these notifications is verification the person received the notification. These are very important. We frequently have people come in here and say, well, I didn't get the notice. So if you're going to go to email, then I would suggest, as far as a procedure, those people who use that particular thing are, for your record, if you do not have an acknowledgement from the person who you sent it to that they received this. In other words, if they send back received, then you have a record they've received it. And I think that's fantastic compared to first-class mail. First-class mail, I've had people hand me my mail, said, well, this got stuck in my box, and I'd rather give it to you rather than the post office to make sure you get it. And this can be a big problem. But if you're going to switch over to electronic, just confirmation you did it. I strongly support any changes that come up to technology regarding that to enable you to do it in that manner. And then if you don't get confirmation on your email, then I think you should be required to go ahead and resort to the standard process of first-class mail. So that's a suggestion to improve the process if you're changing it, take your opportunity.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi. So I mentioned earlier that a friend of mine had been going through some code enforcement actions, and he called us Friday before he was going to be abated on Monday. So there wasn't a whole lot we could do. But I went over there and I went through his paperwork with him, and he had a very important piece of mail from June 7th that he had not opened. And what he had done is he had gone to mental health. He had gone to Supervisors, and he had gotten someone there to represent him with the county and asking them to send the mail to them because he couldn't handle it. He had PTSD over the whole thing. And the county, to my knowledge, did not send the mail to this person at mental health. And the same issue happened with the Mary Garth turning her property over to the developers. She had known mental health issues. I really feel strongly that there needs to be some mechanism in place that people who have reached out to the county with code enforcement issues and said, I need help navigating this, or like in the case of Mary Garth, maybe they're not even able to acknowledge that they need help, that there is someone who can help them, because it's not helpful to put people out on the street or force them to abate, tiny homes or ignore their filed request for public hearing on junk vehicles, which is what happened to my friend Tyson. I saw his stamped request, stamped by the county, that he turned it in on time. And then 5 days later, he got that mail that he never opened about the abatement. So finding a way to ensure that people have received their electronic mail or their post office mail, and if they're not mentally capable of handling it, that there's someone who can help them handle it, would be really helpful. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, guys. I think Allison made some great points. I want to just put that straight to you, Mr. John Ford. Have you thought about offering any kind of accommodation?
If you can
do you
please,
offer any kind of accommodation?
Sir, you're addressing the board, not the staff.
Okay, so could
Thank you.
do you guys know if your Am I addressing you, Michelle Bushnell?
You're addressing this board.
Which board member will answer? Whoever feels like it? You don't have to answer? You guys won't answer? Steve? No, you're not my representative anymore. Mike? I live in your district now, Mike. Does building and planning have any sort of accommodation, and do they have any legal requirement to require accommodation?
So you're doing public comment, which does not do a back and forth. Please make your statement and then sit down. Thank you.
So our public comments, we're not allowed to ask questions, and we're only given the information we're given. I guess my public comment is it sounds like grounds for some civil rights lawsuits, some Title IX business. I know we guys got county councils here busy. I hear you guys brought another county council on because you got so many things against you. So we might want to think about accommodations in the future so we don't have any kind of legal liabilities coming up in the future from anyone who is privileged and knows how to use the legal systems we have to require the accommodations that are, I believe, are set forth in our civil disabilities acts and legislature, federally and in state. And yeah, it just seems like a liability to not offer any accommodations, to not consider accommodations. Seems like it leaves the whole county, and as a taxpayer, you know, they're probably going to need more taxes to cover all your lawyers. And, you know, as elected officials, I'm sure your constituents who pay for you to be up here and voted for you to be up here might be concerned that their Board of Supervisors wants to sit here and look at me and no one don't even feel compelled to like talk about accommodating people with different needs here in our society, which, looking at my progressive caucus members, I believe was a priority. Not looking at you Republicans, I know it's not really your big deal. But I understand that there's movements nowadays to like kind of be cool and try to kind of more central ground, you know. You can't do it all at once, you know what I'm saying? You need both sides. Yo.
Thank you, sir. Hello.
Hi, Doug Smith, Arcata. Our population here in Humboldt County is becoming more and more senior, and I'd be fine with this kind of idea, but it's not causing solutions, you know, and we need solutions. I spent a year or two back in 2008, I think, or 2000, you know, in the early 2000s, and we were going to have an ombudsman. We were going to have people talking to people and giving them solutions for these code enforcement or other, you know, problems that the citizens were having. I don't know where any of that went and why none of it ever got followed up on.
Thank you. Good morning, Andy.
Morning, Michelle, everybody. My name is Andy Barnett. I'm here representing a new project in Humboldt County that I want everybody to be aware of. It's the Eel River Youth Stewards Project.
Andy, we're talking, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we're talking about this agenda item and
Agenda item.
Yeah,
Okay.
and what you wanted to do was non-agenda items, and
Yes.
that's already passed. I apologize.
okay.
That's usually first thing in the morning. Please email our board and so we can get that information, or come to the next meeting, which is not next week, but the following week.
All right, I thought the meeting started at 11. Thank you.
That's okay. We start at 9. Thanks, Andy. Hello.
This is about legal notice.
Please step forward to the
This is
microphone.
about legal notice. Legal notice is really important. More, not less, is an easy one for you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, I'll close public comment, and I'm going to bring it back to staff.
Thank you, Chair Bushnell. So one of the first things I want to do is I'm going to address two separate things. One is what's before you, is an ordinance that only relates to the processing of applications. It does not relate to code enforcement at all. And what it really only relates to is being able to, after the Planning Commission, zoning administrator, or after an administrative action, to email the results of that action out to the applicant so that they have that in their records. In terms of accommodation, yes, as Mr. Rochelle mentioned, is that not everybody has access to email. And so there is still the opportunity to do things through U.S. mail. We will still mail things if that's how people get their material. We try very hard to make sure that people have the opportunity to communicate with any of the decision makers, from the director to the zoning administrator, planning commission, and the board of supervisors. And if there are special needs, we attempt to address those. In terms of the actual comments about code enforcement, it's really not on topic, so I probably don't want to say too much, but the same principles apply there too. We do try to communicate clearly, openly, and make sure that everybody has a chance to respond.
Okay, I'm going to bring it back to the board. Any questions or comments, or we're looking for a motion? Supervisor Bohn.
On the application, it asks for point of contact, right?
Yes.
I'm sorry, but I think this is just another, I mean, I was standing at DMV the other day, and 3 out of the 4 people in front of me says I never got the notice because they were paying their late fee on the DMV. I pay on 7 vehicles, and I get mine every time. So I'm just saying, I mean, you can use it as an excuse, or you can use it as a learning tool, and giving you the proper information to get all correspondence is on the applicant when they apply. It seems simple. Maybe it's not.
Looking for a motion.
I'll move approval of the staff recommendation.
I'll second the adoption of the ordinance amending Title 3, Division 1, Chapter 2, and 4 of the Humboldt County Code.
Okay. I'm going to close the public hearing, and we're going to go to Kaylee.
Supervisor Madrone.
Yes.
Supervisor Arroyo.
Yes.
Supervisor Bohn.
Yep.
Supervisor Wilson.
Yes.
Chair Bushnell.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go on to our next item, and before we do so, I'm going to ask that, out of respect for people in the audience, that we don't clap during agreement or disagreement of items that are being said. This is to allow people to feel comfortable in the room and to say anything they like. It is not to stifle anybody. So the next item that we are going to go to is also comes to us from Planning and Building, and it will be... Sorry. Update on the Garth General Plan Amendment and Zone Reclassification Petition to allow permitting of alternate lodge park on property in the Trinidad area. And we're going to go to Director Ford.
Good morning again. Thank you. This is just to provide you with an update and allow you to redirect staff's direction if you feel that's appropriate. So this is being brought back to you. There was a rezone petition that the Board of Supervisors accepted to rezone property to allow submittal of a conditional use permit that would allow creation of an alternative lodge park to resolve a code violation at 473 Quarry Road. Part of that would also involve a general plan amendment. Staff had agreed to process that general plan amendment in association with the rezone because everything around it was, the land use was changed as part of the general plan. On January 7th of 2025, the Board of Supervisors stayed a code enforcement action order to allow the property owner to put together applications intended to resolve the violations. The stay was precedent upon all the prior staff costs associated with code enforcement actions being paid and taking specified actions to complete the application submittal process. To date, the costs associated with previous staff work have not been paid, and the critical dates were March 7th, 2025 for submittal of a complete general plan and zoning, or actually just a zoning ordinance amendment application. May 7th was submittal of a complete conditional use permit application. August 5th would have been looking to have the Board of Supervisors take action on the general plan amendment and zoning ordinance amendment. And then September 18th was the date by which the board wanted to see the Planning Commission take action on the conditional use permit. Obviously, we're past all those dates now, and no applications have been submitted. It is my understanding that there has been wet weather testing done for the septic, which was a critical component in the path forward. And the wet weather testing was done, but it was unfortunately carried out in an area that is either on the neighboring property or within the setback to the neighboring property. And so there's no valid wet weather testing that's been completed yet. So there have been no actions taken toward completing the application to date. Another kind of a complicating factor is that the property seems to have been transferred by quitclaim deed to a nonprofit organization. And so it's unclear who the property owner currently really is. And based upon the lack of response to date, planning and building will be re-engaging in the code enforcement process unless the board directs us otherwise.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go to public comment unless there's a specific question the board wishes to ask. Okay, we'll start with Zoom. Kaylee?
There is none, Chair.
Before or after public comment? Okay, we're going to continue with public comment. Please come forward. Hello.
It sounds like Director Ford contradicted himself just there, saying nothing's been done, then saying something was done, but it was done incorrectly. And that brings me back to my point of accommodations. Charles is not made for bureaucracy, right? He's taken everything you've told him to heart. More than half the people are gone. There's only like a handful of people there still. Most people have left. He's cleaned up, and he cleans up often. He's often out cleaning up and doing, and like you said, he tried to do the testing. He just did it wrong because he doesn't know what he's doing, and there's no accommodation for him. The man's trying his best. He's just not trying like you might expect him to from someone who knows how to go through the bureaucratic process. But he's just unaccommodated from another time when this is how when he remembers back when code enforcement would send an inspector every now and then and be like, oh, you're making progress, and check that out on the board. There hasn't been any inspections. No one's come out to look at it since November. They wouldn't see that most of the people are gone, that lots of the junk's gone, that junk vehicles have left. He's complying how he knows how to comply. And if there were, I know it sounds ridiculous that he might need special accommodation. He's trying to get a lawyer. His lawyers keep dying on him. I tell him he needs 2 lawyers, you know, and maybe another one. Maybe you should get a civil rights attorney, because like it almost, I mean, we're all up here talking about merry-go-round. It just seems like funny that we got all this heat on these Garths. But that's my comment, is that he's contradicted himself. He did do his testing. I believe the shift to the nonprofit was in order to qualify for the alternative housing ordinances that this board passed arbitrary requirements to be a nonprofit and to have it owned by a nonprofit. So I believe that was a step in his mind towards getting that, towards towards getting into compliance so he could get into compliance with the arbitrary rules set before him. But like I said, that's not what he's good at. That's not what he knows how to do. Charles can bring back your car to life. He can fix anything that's broken in your house. Charles is the guy you want when stuff's falling apart because he knows how to keep going and get on through. That's what he's good at. But like this paper pushing, getting stuff on time, these arbitrary dates, like what are these? You list off these random dates. Like why is that? Why
Please
are those
address our
dates so
board.
important?
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. You list off these arbitrary dates. Why are these dates so important? Go and inspect. Why don't you go and inspect in May? Why don't you go and inspect in March? Why don't you go and inspect in October? What board? Why weren't you paying attention to direct your building and planning director to do these things? I guess because I can't say anything to him.
Thank you. So we're going to go back to the Zoom. 2 hands came up right as I closed Zoom, so I'm going to allow it. Go ahead, Kaylee.
Thank you, Chair. Caller 1816, I'm going to unmute you and you will have 3 minutes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, I just want to chime in here. This is Nicole. I've been working on this case with Ed Denson for years. I wish that the county would have reached out and asked me for an update instead of causing all of this ruckus. Things are pretty simple, actually. A lot of people got scared away by the county's threats to demolish their homes. And so, yeah, the yeehaw population is reflective of that. We are in legal use there on the 10 acres of agriculturally zoned property. There are 2 houses that are grandfathered in. There are 2 sticks and a porta potty. We have far enough infrastructure that's legal for the number of people that are there, which is under 10 as far as I understand. Progress is also being made and has consistently been made. In fact, I found an investor, interestingly, several land mates found an investor to buy the property and go through all the hoops that the county put before Charles Garth and all those dates, and they were ready to comply. But the cost was going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that investor told the residents that they would be paying rent 3, 4, 5 times as much as they were paying at this time. So, or donations, I should say. There's nobody paying rent at the moment. That is important to mention because of all the displacement and fear of being evicted. So, Charles, well, technically the real owner is Evergreen Nonprofit. They are not making a dime on the property, but still they are making progress with White Church Engineering. They're going to build a 14-person permitted septic-tied bathhouse. Yes, Mercer Fraser, as far as I understand, took over part of the property that EHA has possessed for about 40 years, and that has caused some stalling of the process. But that is the plan. Charles is perfectly capable and willing to do that and is in the process of doing so. The heart of the matter today, though, is that affordable housing is very needed in this county. We have a willing landowner here, Evergreen Nonprofit. Charles Garth has provided affordable housing at EHA for decades without any cost to the county. The county currently has a quota from the state to provide affordable housing that it is incapable of doing at this time, as far as I'm aware. And I want to remind folks that Attorney Eugene Denson, who passed away in 2024, he drafted the ordinances that were specifically designed by...
Sorry, you ran out of time. On to the next caller, 9277. I will unmute you and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi,
Hi, my name is Amanda. I represent the general community that care about humanitarian efforts. I'm a volunteer, and I've been aiding with this process and others to try to help uplift any disenfranchised community, which is what this non-for-profit is doing. And in this field, it is not a lucrative field. And by infringing all of these demands to pay exorbitant monies by a certain time to some of the poorest demographics in the county is unjust. And we really need to give, we should be giving them grants. We should be helping to solve our housing crisis. We should not be trying to take from some of the lowest income people and demanding money from them at certain times and points where they are struggling for survival. My motion is to help aid this non-for-profit in providing much needed low income assistance instead of trying to exploit them and making so many people suffer more than they already have. I have been to these places. There were children and elders that became displaced by these arbitrary code violations. The septic is fine. The water is fine. These houses are way more safe than being on the street. And this person has taken in so many homeless children, families, elders, and people. And to try to deny people the basic rights of any kind of security and water and access is unjust. I agree with what Andy said about really trying to exercise any legal obligation of getting some accommodations for a man that might have has problems reading and other things that would qualify him to have accommodations should be provided and is legally sound, especially for somebody who does not have any legal representations because they can't afford it. They can't afford legal representation, and still are making progress and is still doing what they can to improve the place. It should show due diligence that there are efforts being made to comply with the city's codes. And if the city wants to uplift and make...
Apologies, you ran out of time. I have to go on to the next caller. Caller 7108. I will unmute you and you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'm calling to urge the board to recognize that we have a severe housing problem here in Humboldt County, and there's a bunch of people out living in the woods, which causes a lot more problems than being in somewhere like Yeehaw. And I would hope that the county could assist Charles Gard and the situation there so that it can be used. So please think about all the homeless people, the poor people, and the people that have been helped by Charles Gard and his situation there. I'm not sure what's going on with the nonprofit, but to me, that looked like it was a step in the right direction. And so, please do whatever you can to try to support and help this out. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all on Zoom, Chair.
Okay, please come forward. You can make your comment now.
Good morning, Honorable Supervisors. My name is Alan Ng, a board supervisor for Evergreen Nonprofits. I'm also a long-term member of this community with a career in land management, construction, and at the Arcata Scrap and Salvage. We've recently taken ownership of the property known as Iha and are fully aware of this difficult history and serious water quality concerns. We are here to partner with you on a positive and lasting solution for this property and our community. My professional background in construction and metal recycling can give us a practical site assessment. We've done the water testing, we've removed metal, we're making a plan on trying to get things in better shape. We recognize that there are civil penalties associated with past violations. However, as someone who has managed projects and budgets, I know direct funding towards a fine would be a missed opportunity. We respectfully request you to consider setting this enforcement action with a supplemental environmental project, or SEP. This will allow Evergreen Nonprofits to direct the equivalent funds towards the actual cleanup and restoration work, using practical knowledge and background to oversee the project with professional compliance. In conclusion, Evergreen Nonprofits sees this property not as a liability, but as a project that will reflect our mission and practical skill sets. We are committed to work with transparency with the county and with those involved. We urge you to support our plan and help us in cleaning up the environment. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad that we found out who the actual nonprofit was when Director Ford said someone had gotten the thing. I'm glad they're here in the room to speak with you. You know, one of my outlooks of the thing was based upon the credibility of this nonprofit, then maybe you have something that you can move forward with. You know, it would have been like if Betty Chin had signed on for this one or somebody like that, then we'd know the track record. There's another question that I think you may wish to ask staff. We had a test done for a septic system in the wrong location, but if that test passed, that would be indicative that there's most likely a place on that 10 acres that could also pass. The other information provided again, and you may wish to ask Director Ford this, was it was asserted by one of the speakers on Zoom that there are actually 2 legal grandfathered in structures on the property. If that were the case, of course, that makes housing for 10 people to be quite doable and easy to do on 10 acres. In fact, that would be, you can have your primary residence in a ADU, I think, on Ag Zone. I think it's all there for it. So those are 2 questions that I, as the public, would like to have answered if possible. And I think as far as you making your decisions would be quite relevant questions. I've had conversations with some people who lived there or have lived there before. I just happened to run into them. And again, our housing thing is a problem in Humboldt County. And these kind of solutions, I strongly wish to thank the prior owner of his willingness and understanding to know this was beyond his ability to handle and actually transferring title and interest to that property. That's a major gift or whatever you want to say to a nonprofit. And it does show some concern as far as actually looking after the best interest of the people. I was here to come out totally negative on this project when I came, but these new things that are coming forward regarding the nonprofit, transfer of title to somebody who may be able to go forward, might behoove you to give a little more time and have a timeline with that nonprofit, the new owner. If they think they can do something, you might ask them to come up, how long is it going to take you to satisfy the needs and get back on schedule? Thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you.
My name's Allison Murphy. I helped Charles with his email. He's emailed John Ford a couple times on the topic of this land use designation. There was something that didn't come up in the January 7th meeting. The January 7th meeting, you voted unanimously as a board that what the board would do was modify the emergency shelter housing ordinance so that someone with ag zoning could apply for it with a conditional use permit. There was also discussion, and I know there was some dissent, but it was voted on that the roads, the state of the roads would also be changed so that the roads that currently exist to Yeehaw would be applicable for the alternative lodge park. So to get the alternative lodge park, we have to go through the emergency shelter ordinance, which has to be modified in order to get the conditional use permit. As far as I know, that ordinance has not been modified. So how is he supposed to apply for a conditional use permit when the ordinance is not ready? The other thing that has to change is his land use designation has to change. And in that vote, January 7th, it was determined in the findings that the county made a mistake, and it was the county's mistake that he was spot zoned. And that's fine. Charles has already put over $4,000 into that application for that petition to be heard in January 7th on that topic. And you voted that he could move forward. But soon after that, I was going through his files looking for bills, because part of what you voted on, you said he had to pay all the previous fees up till that point, not the fines, which are a lien attached to the property, but the fees to the county, to county code enforcement, to the sheriff's office, whoever. He has no bills. He has no bills for any of those fees. The only bill he's received is the bill for the land use designation, $17,000. He has 2 emails to John Ford where he talks about why we don't want to pay that. Why don't we want to pay that? Because when I went through his files, I found documentation that shows that his initial land use designation prior to the general plan update was residential estates / timberland. I sent the document via email to Steve Madrone, to John Ford. So he originally had the correct land use designation that he needs right now, RE, and that you're trying to force him to pay thousands and thousands of dollars to change it back when the county made a mistake. Meanwhile, Rex Bohn testified in that January 7th meeting that Mercer Fraser had their parcels changed at the general plan update at their request. They were also, all 6 of those parcels were originally RE/T. So you had an operating quarry who got changed to RE without paying a dime, and Charles Garth, whose land use was changed to T when you knew that it was a multifamily residential operation at the time. This needs to change. The county needs to pay for this, or he's going to have to hire a lawyer, and he does have money for a lawyer.
Any other public comment on this item?
Charles Garth or Jake Garth or Evergreen Nonprofit or whatever is never going to do what you want them to do.
I want that ombudsman. I want a new deal. This whole thing is a mess. John Ford is reasonably confused, as is everyone. There was never a statement that I needed to rezone. I needed my land use designation changed, which may have been your problem. I needed your tiny home, your emergency shelter ordinance changed so that my ag would fit it, even though originally I was told that that was being passed for my property. You excluded it intentionally. My supervisor was even fooled about that. He told me we had a path forward now, and it didn't work out. I did put up a bunch of money, but I never hear about that. Where did that disappear to? I need a new deal. Come on, you guys, I'm doing the right thing. Your director has already stated numerous times that there's no way to build affordable housing. I can build affordable housing all day long till the cows come home. I can build it. Just let me do it, right? We got Evergreen that can handle the paperwork, all right? But, I'm your man. I can do this. Give me a shovel. Don't take it away.
Any other public comment on this item?
Yeah, Doug Smith, Arcata. The neighbor enforced on me. I don't know what they stole. I don't know if they stole. I lost firewood. I had firewood damaged. I have a business that was impacted, and I'm still suffering from that. Now, when they piled my firewood in our driveway, we couldn't get out 2 wrecked vehicles that aren't registered and need to be disposed of. I worked for over 2 months to get my firewood into piles and to get the driveway cleared so that we could even think about repairing these vehicles and getting them to the point where they can be rolled out to the road or rolled out to where a tow truck could drag them away or somebody could put them on a trailer and drag them away. So that impacted me hugely. Then to find out, oh, they surveyed and you know, that some of this other stuff, I'm amazed. I'm amazed. This whole thing has been a county problem that the county has made upon people who have been living there for a long time. As a former resident, you know, I was impacted and, you know, it was low income. I believe maybe we need a building moratorium until and unless we actually comply with building low-income housing. It worked in Marin. There aren't very many homeless people in Marin. There's a lot of open space now in Marin. Bill Graham made sure of that. Now, it says here, I don't even know what it says. It says something about receive, operation, and take appropriate action. Whatever that means, that's not a description of anything. That's the staff recommendation. What does that mean? What's the appropriate? Well, you know, I guess we're just going to find out later. And that's the game that this county has been playing for a long time. The state has been trying to find out later about why there's no low-income housing. My daughter-in-law pays $850 for a fifth wheel in a trailer park. That is insane to me. I'd rather be a homeless veteran living in a tent on the river. I'm sorry.
Next, please.
Hello. So I think most things have been covered. I would like to agree with Andy that I believe that accommodations should be made. I think it's a waste of county community resources to be taking punitive action when I think we should all be working to move forward with this. In regards to the septic system and the wet weather testing, I have a description of the property from 2018 that describes the distance where it was, where the wet weather testing was going to be as being 174 feet. And this is from the county's description. And then I have paperwork from 2017 that lists it as being 74 feet, which is a 100-foot difference. And there's no wonder that the wet weather testing got gummed up because of a property line dispute. I don't think that that should have any bearing on whether or not people can move forward with you know. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, I'll close public comment and come back to Director Ford.
Thank you. There were some comments that were made. We're unaware that we're down to 10 people with only 2 houses on the property. That is something that can be looked at. Perhaps it would not need a rezone. Still will need to have a permitted septic system. Still will need to have a permitted water source. So, and then I wanted to remind the board that the board did identify that and actually took action to modify the
tiny house ordinance to allow alternative housing villages within community plan areas, which this is within one. And so that has been addressed. I'm a little confused by the comment that there's no bills. The bills came within the court actions, or not the court actions, but the action from the administrative hearing officer. I have responded to emails from Charles. It is helpful to see the Evergreen nonprofit here and willing to engage in this discussion. I think, you know, the struggle with this is that this has been going on for a long, long time. I'm sympathetic if Mr. Garth has a need for accommodation, was not aware of that before today. That's never been mentioned. We do always try to work with people, and we are always willing to go out into the field and identify areas, identify limitations, discuss what can and can't be done. I don't know what happened with why the engineer chose to do the wet weather testing where they did. It's my understanding that is one of the few upland areas on the site that is not wet, and so it made sense to be there. I think that if the survey shows that it's on the property and outside of the setback for the septic system, then that's fine. We brought this back simply because I get a lot of questions and comments about what's going on with this, and it's been going on for a long time, and wanted to bring it to the board knowing that no matter what we do, there will be people who are disgruntled with the decision.
Okay, questions from the board? Supervisor Bohn.
Well, let's give them another year. No, I'm kidding. That property's been owned by the neighbor, you know, we keep talking about. The neighboring property got an abatement order for unauthorized camping, junk vehicles, salvage. I've got it all here. You guys did it in October. The property owner contacted Garth. There was contact made with his attorney about cleaning up. He says you gave him 2 weeks to clean up. He did not. So then he had to go in up and clean up his own property. Now, this isn't to say Garth didn't take some of those old vehicles off of the property. He did. And he took them off to Eel River Drive in the middle of Lolita, right on the main drive, and dumped them on an empty lot down there, which is, I've asked to be abated now because it is not a proper storage place for automotive vehicles. So this whole idea, the wood was moved, yes, it was put in a driveway of the neighboring property owner, which is, it is Mercer Fraser Company. They've operated the quarry for over 100 years. They leased it from a timber company, bought it 90 years ago. They aren't a giant corporation. They're a family-owned company. They've just been successful, so let's blast them for that. A few years ago, this property was quit-claimed to Garth's daughter. She quit-claimed it back. Now we're giving it to a nonprofit, but it sounded like he still owned it when they just spoke. I'm getting confused of all the mixed signals. All I do know is there's improper sewage, improper water, and we have given 25 years of code enforcement trying to bring him in line. And I mean, I don't know what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again with the same result? Now, I understand that there has been a new RV or bus brought in there in the last month or two. I don't know. They can deny it. So I don't know if it's actually doing what we're saying. But the thing is we need to have to cut the cord, clean it up, and then because much like a abated property that somebody buys, because we get them every week, because I just bought an abated property. Can I just not worry about it? No, you have to clean it up to move forward. We make them clean it up. It doesn't matter if it's a nonprofit or not, and I've I apologize, I know a lot of the nonprofits. I've never heard of Evergreen. Don't know how long they've been in operation. But I've heard today that Garth has the money to hire an attorney. Garth has the money to buy a church in Trinidad. Garth's son has a trailer park in Lolita. I mean, I don't know if there was a family tie in there and everything else. But what I am saying, as we sit here, if we are actually considered this as housing, why did we ever abate the Devil's Playground? Because it was the right thing to do for the environment. And we can say, you know, we can't pick and choose what's good for the environment. We can't pick and choose. We can go after people because we don't like them, we don't like their political beliefs and everything else. But this has been 30 years, and I'm going to tell you right now, I've yet to see one of the neighbors in here opposed to it, but I've yet to see one of the neighbors that live on the houses on Quarry Road coming up and praising it. So what I am saying, it's time to do the right thing and clean up the property for the area. And this person that did the wet weather testing, this qualified person that did the wet weather testing, I probably would have gone uphill and done the wet weather testing, because how qualified it's a 10-acre parcel. How do you go off-site to do your wet weather testing in an area that isn't qualified? So I am more confused now than ever, but in all reality, we have tried. I appreciate this board trying. We gave a year ago, almost a year ago, we said, we'll give you some more time. Nothing, nada, nothing has happened. And it's not about who the neighbor is. It's not about the housing or anything else. We've got rules we've got to stand by. We agreed to even change rules for one parcel, and it was not taken advantage of. So I'm, you know, and I apologize, but I mean, it's, I don't know, maybe my facts are all wrong, but I heard a lot of stuff today, and I didn't hear it's cleaned up, it's done, all the vehicles are off, and I keep hearing there's less people living up there. I don't know, but I'm just saying it's not a clean property, and there's people in the neighborhood that have to clean up after it, and it's about time we enforce what's here, because 25 years is long enough to kick that. That's what gives. I'm having people that are involved in code enforcement this last week call me and say, why am I cleaning up my property? Can I get a break? Can I get a break? Can I get a break? We're going to have to talk to those people's neighbors and say, yeah, we're giving them a break because we give everybody a break in code enforcement. The whole idea behind code enforcement is so we have an aesthetically pleasing neighborhood, aesthetically pleasing lots. There is a lot of leeway to get away with a lot of stuff, but you can't just collect. You have to follow some guidelines. I'm sorry.
Anyone else? Supervisor Arroyo.
So the document that we got passed earlier by Mr. Garth is the alternative owner builder portion of the county code, which has been around quite literally as long as I have, but is specifically does not pertain to property that's rented or leased or occupied by folks other than the owner. This is owner occupied specifically. So, you know, the alternative lodge park, I recall all the details of what we went through around the alternative lodge park applicability, which is a newer set of provisions that weren't related to this property, that were related to calls from the community to address housing issues and the need for affordable housing and different models for that. And so the alternative lodge park is one model that I think could work well, and we haven't seen a lot of uptake of that in our community, but it's out there, and I think staff really strove to find a way to fit this property and its unique needs and circumstances into something that we could where we could say yes. But we did have a very clearly outlined timeline in that meeting and requirements that we needed to see met. And I remember we sat here and went, does everybody understand? And is everybody on board with what we're talking about? So to get here today and hear that there was any surprise or confusion is surprising. That is a recorded meeting that's part of the public record where we went through and said what everyone was going to do. Now, I understand that circumstances on the property have changed, so I'm interested to hear, I heard, Director Ford, you saying we might be able to look at some different steps now, but that was not, we were not made aware of that before this very meeting. So I'm interested to hear a little bit more about what that could look like. I'd like to hear from other soups first and, kind of hear your thoughts about this. But I'm also inclined to say we had a year-long plan to go through these steps in this process, and those things didn't happen. And it is also the first time that I'm aware of that we're hearing of a request for accommodations, which, we are fully prepared to make accommodations, and we have to know that that need exists. So this is also new information. So that's why we have these public hearings, is so we can understand where we're at and go through the process of receiving information. And the staff recommendation was intentionally open-ended so that we could have flexibility to make those decisions today. So, but I am ready to get to some kind of consensus today and have a decision and not kick the same can down the road. So we need to take a different approach today.
Supervisor Wilson?
Thanks, Mr. Ford. I have a few questions, Director Ford. Do you have any confirmation that this transfer has occurred to the nonprofit?
Yeah, we have a copy of the quitclaim deed.
So then Mr. Garth is not the owner?
That's what it would seem, yes.
Then who would we, why would we afford accommodation to not the owner? Who's not is Mr. Garth the appropriate representative of the ownership of this property now that this has occurred?
His name's not on the leadership of the nonprofit as it's formed.
And the nonprofit has not notified us that Mr. Garth is the representative for their property.
Correct.
In terms of its development?
Correct.
I'm confused. So, I'm just saying that it seems to me that who should be coming to us today should be a representative from the nonprofit. And we heard a person saying they were on the board, and they were making a request in terms of they're asking for the fines and fees to be moved towards cleanup. I think is pretty much what was the construct of what they were saying. So I guess I'm confused a little bit on this, and when you abdicate your ownership of something and your control of something, then we also have to, we have obligations now to the new owner and not to the past owner.
Right.
So we're gonna have to clean that and clear that up at some point. I'm not really, no one's been assigned, as far as you know, to represent the owner.
Correct.
Okay. This is a difficult place for us to be at this moment because I don't know who's representing the owner of the property.
So, yeah, that is part of the struggle that we're having.
Right.
So what that's going to cause us to do from a code enforcement standpoint is to start all over with the new owner.
I'll call you up and ask you for questions when you have a seat. I will actually do that, but I just want to make sure I'm getting conversation with my staff first, and then we'll.
So it really is beginning that relationship with the new property owner.
Yeah.
And beginning to go through the steps from the very beginning.
Okay.
And then moving through the steps. And just to answer Supervisor Arroyo's question real quick, as part of this, part of that could be if they only want 10 people to live on the house or on the property and there's only 2 houses there, that could be accommodated. But all the other stuff is going to need to go.
Right, because, I mean, we have within our land use code and description, the entitlement for 2 structures, 2 living on this zone and this designation. So that exists. I don't know what the footprints are necessarily, or all those, there's a lot of details to that. Even within the owner builder code, it's still required to have, you know, functioning water and sewer and all the other things, and those all have to be, you know, have to be built to code as well. This doesn't get you out of that.
Yeah, I want to make one thing real clear. There still are permits that are needed even to get there.
Right. Oh, yeah. And I, you know, every time this gets brought up, I mean, people want to pick out the parts that they like about this, but there are parts that are also concerning within this, and we won't go into that today, but, you know, it's a bit of a dated document. It has some good things, and it is functionally created to make more affordable housing available. That was its point, I think, really ultimately. And so, and that's been used in very different ways, and there's parts of this that are, again, very interesting. So we have a nonprofit that has taken ownership of the property. We've delineated that there are existing entitlements that everybody within that, in the county that has that zoning has those entitlements, assuming physically that it could be accommodated through adequate water,
sewer.
And sewer. Basically, those are the main things, because I think there are alternatives for, you know, electrical hookups and those kinds of things. And
It's just got to be permitted.
Yeah, it's got to be permitted. Okay, so I mean, if that's the limit, if that's what we're going to, that basically, if the construct currently is that a nonprofit owns this property, or it basically has a new owner. It has a new owner. Someone has taken over this property. It has a new owner. We know, and honestly, I'm not even sure our discussions, what we've had before, I don't understand even if we're how obligated, and I don't mean that, you know, we are to move forward with a new owner under the constructs and discussions we've had before, because we didn't make those agreements with the new owner. Now we have a new owner. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
I do understand what you're saying.
How transferable are the discussions that we had before to a new owner?
Well, given the fact that everything that was provided as an opportunity before has been way exceeded,
right.
It's really now the new owners in a place of coming in and picking up the property at a point where there's known violations that have to be reassigned, potentially reassigned to the owner.
Right.
It's conceivable that the owner could clean things up
right.
without having to go through all those steps, and that would be the best possible outcome of this.
Okay. Can we put a pin in that for a second and ask the Mr. Alan Ng? Do I have that right?
Yes.
Could you answer a few questions for me? Would that be?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks
you want me to come to the stand, sir?
Oh yeah. That's great. Sorry.
Okay. This is all new to me.
Yeah. Trust me. I've been where you are, and it's been kind of nerve-wracking. So I hear you.
You're okay. It's not scary.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you.
So you're a board member of a nonprofit called Evergreen.
Yes.
And Evergreen, is it a new entity? Is it put together? What's the purpose of the nonprofit?
We created this nonprofit in lieu of the wildfires in the past, trying to come up with a solution on using land mainly to help in the nurseries for trees burned by the wildfires. We're trying to have land be used to grow saplings for planters to replant old burns.
Cool. What does this property have to do with your mission?
Our mission is to find land that has redwood trees that we could somehow understand and gather their seedlings and create kind of a workforce development so we can have workers learn tree climbing, to go into the trees to gather the redwood seeds. We went to CAL FIRE and we took a course on seed collection, and we found out there was a market in seed collection. This was prior to after the downfall of marijuana.
Okay. Okay, so you have an intention with this property that you now own to leverage this property to that mission. And I'm going to ask you, like, so then what, we've been talking about housing and affordable housing and homelessness and all these things about this property. No one has talked about seed collection and the regrowth of forest, which I think is a wonderful thing. Are you seeing that on this 10 acres that it becomes like a nursery?
I would like to see it become kind of a training facility where people grow their grow greenhouses, or not really that, but beds, and have living quarters as well too, so they can work and live in the facility.
Okay, I'm going to hold on. I'm going to turn back to my planning director for a second. So John, what I'm hearing from the nonprofit is something different than what we've been talking about. Now we're talking about a training facility. And I don't know how that fits into the designation, the land use designations that currently exist, or even sort of the planning of how we move forward. It's become a little confusing to me. Help me out.
Well, it is confusing because this is all new information. I mean, as the planner who has been working on it, I don't think is aware of this. And so this is all completely new information and a completely different direction. It's not an entirely bad direction, but it's a huge change.
I love all that stuff. I mean, I want to say, like, I like more trees and training people to plant them, 100%. But we're conflating that mission of your nonprofit that's taken ownership of this property, which is again why I'm getting at to why the owner matters in this situation. And now I'm confused at how that's, how the resident, or the people who live there now, how that meshes with their sort of arc in terms of like their living situation and development of the property and all those things. I'm a little bit confused.
I can't say I understand it either. The folks that live there may or may not be able to collect seeds and do some of the things that we've just heard. I think, fundamentally, the property does need to be cleaned up. And what we were trying to do previously with the alternative lodge park was then to give a use of the property that could provide affordable housing, and there was kind of a twofer there, that the property would get cleaned up, things would be permitted, it would be safe from a water standpoint, a septic standpoint, electrical standpoint. I think the same things still apply.
I'm going to go back to the last time we had a meeting. I had questions around capacity.
Right.
And so, Mr. Ng, I'm going to ask you this question. Does your nonprofit have other pieces of property that it owns or assets? Like what is the capacity of your nonprofit in order, do you have monies or funders that you think will enable you to seek, to move towards your goal or your mission?
I've applied for a CAL FIRE grant in the past. It was for $15 million. This was prior to them investing more money into their development of transportation. They decided to alleviate their fundings in more lieu of transportation of such nurseries. And so far right now, I've been finding sponsors and people in the community, and I've been just gathering more resources, and I come to you today to ask for your resource and your advice.
Okay. Appreciate that. John, I don't know where to go from here at this moment. I'm a little flummoxed, and we have a long meeting ahead, and so I'm not. Can you help with a little bit of direction on what we might do at this moment? Thanks.
So, can I ask something? I think there are thoughts from other supervisors before we get direction, if that's okay. And Supervisor Madrone hasn't spoken, I haven't spoke. And so I think we should have the opportunity before we go forward. Okay. Ms. Supervisor Madrone, would you like to talk?
So, John, the property seems to have transferred to a new owner. We're still learning about the capacity of the new ownership. The previous owner still has debt that doesn't transfer to the new owner, is that correct?
The fines and penalties do not. They stay with the previous owner.
Yeah, so, you know, when we met a year or so ago, I specifically asked Charles if he intended to pay the past fines and fees, and he said that he did. That has not been done. As you mentioned, those bills went out with the court orders and the follow-up from that. So that's that part of the issue is, you know, the owed debt that was promised to be paid that has not. And as was mentioned previously, Charles does have other properties, has the ability to pay for a lawyer. It's not just the church property in Trinidad. There's properties in the Bald Hills. There's assets. You know, what a person decides to do in regards to those assets and dealing with their debt with those, that's their issue. That's their choice. It's not my decision, but those debts are owed. And, you know, if they're not paid, it puts an additional burden on the county, you know, and your department with unpaid debt that you've spent tremendous staff time on. And this past debt does not include the last year or year and a half's worth of additional staff time, which is substantial, that has gone into the effort to try and work with, over and over again, the landowner that existed up until today to do things. And yes, there was efforts to clean up. There was some dumpsters brought in and a lot of debris and garbage and metal recycling were gathered, et cetera. But the abandoned cars and the RV, the trailers, buses, and other things still continued to exist on the access road, which the survey done by Mercer Fraser showed that that was in fact Mercer Fraser's property. And they got an abatement notice to their address when you came through and tagged everything. And so they, at their own expense, did go about cleaning all of that up. And I know it was a very substantial expense. That was also the point where we walked together with the owner at the time and the surveyor and county staff and looked at the maps and the location of the property line based on that landowner's professional surveys, et cetera. And the proposed septic area was clearly either on the Mercer Fraser property or clearly within the buffer zone of that property. There were some pipes sticking out of the ground where a previous consultant had done some, I don't know if it was wet weather testing as much as putting piezometers in the ground to look at groundwater elevations and things like that. But regardless, there was this knowledge that occurred on that site visit of where things were located. I do believe that there probably are other locations on this property that may have dry enough soils during the wet weather to actually accommodate a septic system, but those areas were not tested. Why they weren't, I don't know why. Prudent actions would have tested those things, knowing what the survey results had shown, or you would get your own survey to counter that. And that's a civil matter between adjacent landowners on, you know, where the property line is. That's not our business. I do know that the two houses that are entitled there have septic systems. There are two systems, but their capacity is a question, their ability to manage, when they've been pumped, you know, when they were built. There's a lot of questions around all of that. I have heard that the population there has decreased dramatically over time, and 10 people living there sounds about right from what I hear. It's not just the issue of sewer and water, it's the issue of code compliance with the buildings, stairways, there's lots of other issues, electrical, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't think that there's been a lot of progress on that. Yes, there's a couple of B&B toilets. Yes, the privies got removed. So there has been some work done, but it bothers me that the past costs have not been paid. And like I said at the beginning of my comments, those are debts owed by Charles Garth, the previous landowner, regardless of any new ownership. But the new ownership has been described here, does have responsibility to clean up the rest of the stuff on the property in terms of code compliance. They're new to it, and as you've mentioned, now, because there's apparently a new owner, you're gonna have to redo all the noticing and all of the stuff regarding notice of abatement, notice of violation, all that has to start all over again. That in itself is gonna take some time to process that, implement that, make all that happen. And so a prudent landowner would immediately begin doing all those other things to try and avoid any abatement that might occur in the future, right? So whether we grant more time or not today, it doesn't really bear on this. I mean, this is just a responsibility of the landowner to take care of this, and if they know that there's an action coming, as you said, unless the board gives you a different direction, a prudent landowner would go ahead and just start taking care of all those things and dealing with it to avoid the costs of abatement, the costs of a retainer coming in and taking the property and then cleaning it all up and billing that against the sale of the property. And anything remaining would go to the landowner, like in the case of Mary Garth's property and stuff like that. And a lot of people don't realize that that went on for years and years as well. It's not like all of a sudden the county came in and decided that they were going to do what they did there, but there was attempts for years and years and years to do that. And it's always bothersome to me that at the 12th hour, when these actions finally happen after years, if not a decade or more of work, suddenly everybody's up in arms saying the county's being brutal, the county's doing this, the county's doing that, and then everybody wants to jump in and help. Well, where were they earlier in the process when that could have actually made a difference? So that's always kind of confusing for me. You know, if everybody cares so much about all this, why not step up and deal with all that? I will say in the case of Yeehaw, many of the residents there did step up over the last year, year and a half, and assist Charles with a lot of the cleanup on the property, gathering up debris, et cetera, and loading dumpsters and other kinds of things. I'm always concerned about housing. You know, it has been housing for a lot of people, and as somebody said, regardless of the code issues, it is still a whole lot safer place to be than out on the streets. I don't know anybody that would disagree with that, but it doesn't mean we can look the other way. We're complaint driven, and when there's complaints and there's issues with compliance and codes, if we look the other way, then we can become liable, which is a really irresponsible use of our taxpayer dollars that fund us to put the county in a position where we would ultimately get sued by people if we don't take care of things. So this is a complex thing, but I guess to simplify it again, I really wish that Charles would pay the fees and the fines like he said that he would. And the new owner, I think, has a lot of work to do to get a really good realization of what they're taking on here in terms of the need to deal with the cleanup and the code issues and the rest of it, because as I said, if they don't, unless this board takes a different action, you're going to be in a position to restart the whole notice of abatement, notice of violation, and trigger timelines and all that kind of stuff for that. So that doesn't change the need to do all of those things. In fact, it actually gives them some time. Whether we take an action to give them more time or not, that's going to take what? Months?
It'll take months.
Months, not years, but months. And in that meantime, like I said, a prudent person would just get going on taking care of those things. And as one person said, I think it was Nicole, the estimates from the investor that thought they might come in and buy this came up with an estimate of hundreds of thousands of dollars to probably bring everything into compliance and clean up. I think that's probably pretty accurate because I've been on the site many, many times. So what you've taken on at Evergreen is not a, well, we might apply for a grant here, we might apply for a grant there, and I realize agencies change their priorities, as you mentioned. But this is a big liability you've taken on here of hundreds of thousands of dollars of need that you're going to have to jump in and deal with, like now, because it's likely that there's going to be a new process coming to you with legal notifications for cleanup and abatement and violations and the rest of it. So I don't know if you realize what you've gotten yourself into. I didn't hear anything about, in the questioning from Supervisor Wilson, about other activities for your nonprofit. How long has it actually existed as a legal nonprofit? Could you come up to the microphone, please?
We came to be a nonprofit in 2002.
2002?
Yeah.
But you don't have any other properties. You have dreams, wishes, your mission is to get other properties. But I didn't hear you say you have other assets or other properties. Do you have any other assets or other properties?
Sir?
No.
No, okay. On the quitclaim deed, it would appear as if the quitclaim was from Charles to his son. Is that correct? I mean, that's what it says on the quitclaim deed, does it not, John?
Yes.
That the quitclaim was actually to his son, but it lists his son as
His son is listed as the officer of the nonprofit.
the officer of the nonprofit Evergreen, which you are a board member of.
Yes.
But Charles' son is not a board member, or is he a board member?
Yes.
He is a board member, and he is what, the president, vice president, secretary, treasurer?
Chief officer.
CEO, chief officer?
Yes.
Of the nonprofit?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So I mean, and then we hear about this same person having property in Lolita. I mean, it's quite a tangled web, frankly speaking.
It's not
but I think the
tangled.
simplest part is that as the new owner, there's a lot of liability here and a timeline for cleaning up the property and dealing with things because, again, if this board doesn't choose to do something different, you're going to be getting notices and things like that about abatement and violation. You know, I came here today prepared to say that as long as the fees and fines that Charles agreed to pay got paid within the next couple of weeks, that would take care of a very big responsibility that was promised to be done. And that would say to me that there's an interest in starting to take care of the other things. And I personally would be willing to give some more time to do the wet weather testing for a proper septic location in the fall. More time to submit the application for the the zoning change and the conditional use permit for the alternative lodge, things like that. But then we're being told there's only 10 people left there and maybe the two houses handle it. So it creates a lot of confusion about what pathway we're actually moving forward on and how all that works. So anyway, I've said a lot, said some of it 2 or 3 times. I just wanted to be really clear. I mean, I have gone to bat for this community for my entire 6.5 years up here as a board member, over and over again. And promises keep being made, but then they don't get fulfilled. So, I mean, there are limits to our ability to trust and believe that these things are actually going to happen if we give more time and stuff. So anyway, I'll end there. Thank you.
Hi. So I'm looking at the, you're the financial officer?
Yeah.
And Mr. Garth is the CEO?
Yeah.
And then you have a woman that is a secretary, is that correct?
She's no longer part of the company.
Okay, so it's just you and Mr. Garth?
Yeah.
And so does that mean ownership is you and Mr. Garth?
Yes, that's
So
correct.
that means ownership of the property is you and Mr. Garth?
Yes, that is correct.
So then I don't understand why we'd have to start anything over if Mr. Garth is still an owner.
No, it's his son.
Oh, it's his son. It's not Mr. Garth back here. Okay. And you understand that there was abatement, there was violations on this property prior to, and that you took that on with new ownership?
As of now, yes.
Okay. So I am in agreement with my my colleagues. Supervisor Madrone asked that those fines be paid a year ago, and Mr. Garth said he was going to go in and do that, and so none of that's been done. And also, I wanted to ask our director, when things change, is it our responsibility to go out and seek that, or is it the owner's responsibility to come and report to us, to you guys?
Well, you would hope the owner would be coming in and identifying that they are making progress and giving progress reports about what's going on. The planner who's been working on this has been in continuous dialogue trying to help this evergreen to be able to put the application together.
Okay.
I mean, he spent a lot of time on it. I think Supervisor Madrone said it correctly, that a lot of money's been spent on that will not be recouped.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm in agreement with my colleagues. I don't think kicking this down the road is going to get us what we need. And so the answer is, they've already been abated, is that correct?
No.
Not the, so then the answer could be we abate them and let the new owners deal with it and move forward?
So, yeah, part of the struggle is because there's people living on the site.
Right.
Is that we have to revisit the property from a substandard housing standpoint and provide notice that the housing is substandard, then work to relocate them before the abatement can occur.
Okay. Supervisor Bohn, I still have more to add, but go ahead.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'll preface this. I mean, this is all fascinating and everything else, but this isn't the first time I've seen a shell game, and I'm just going to come out and say it. They're moving the chairs on the Titanic to other ownership so they can. But this, I would make a motion that we move forward after 25 years. I'll repeat that: 25 years with the abatement program, being fully aware there are 10 people living in the 2 unauthorized houses. There is still not a septic system, but start removing some of the junk, make sure everything's out of there, and start the abatement process. I will throw in, we will give 14 days for the property owner to start it. But we've given 25 years, and then I would ask code enforcement and planning and building to go out to our list of contractors and start cleaning up this property for the environment, for the neighborhood. I mean, I can go on, but basically I want you to move forward on this. Give them 2 weeks to start the process. And yeah.
Supervisor Madrone.
I want to clarify that. You said earlier, John, that unless the board gives you other direction, you would proceed with the abatement that has already been noticed. But because it's a new property owner, that creates a complexity of having to do new notification. And as you just said, the first step is to find that the housing is substandard and make the effort to relocate people before the abatement begins. So do you need any direction from this board to take the actions that you suggested? Or would you like that clarification?
I don't need direction. I think our direction is to move forward as Supervisor Bohn is requesting. I do receive the urgency.
Okay, I just want to clarify that.
Supervisor Wilson.
And I just wanted to clarify that our communication really just needs to be with the owner. We can't, I mean, I just don't think there's any function or purpose in communicating with anyone other than the owner or the owner's designated representatives. Thanks. And one last thing, that does not absolve the previous owner's obligations in terms of fines and fees and those sorts of things.
So I want to clarify, did you make that as a motion?
Well, not if we can do it. If we can move forward, that's fine. I would like a caveat in there that they move no more abandoned junk, buses, anything down to Lolita on Eel River Drive in the Coastal Commission area.
You can go ahead and sit down, sir. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So that's all I'm hoping for, because I'm going to go back again. this is a shell game. We're transferring everything back and forth. The property's been quitclaimed. Nothing changes. For $87, you can quitclaim your property. So I'm just saying.
Director Ford.
Thank you, Chair. And I want to make one thing clear. We're not completely starting over just because of the change in ownership. The primary need to go back to the beginning is because it's been 6 years since we've done the substandard housing declaration. And that is now stale. And so we need to go back and do the substandard housing declaration anyway. And so because things change out there a lot, there's a constant rotation of inoperable vehicles and other things in and on and off the site. We're just going to look at it, start, tag it one time, and then move forward with that.
So can I clarify, do you need motion today, or just, we could just take the information you're giving us and that's how you're going to proceed forward?
If you have no objection with what we've laid out, we need no motion. If you want to change our direction, that would require a motion.
Okay, so otherwise the motion would be receive and file.
Yep.
And, okay. Supervisor Arroyo.
Just because this seems like an opportunity to get clarity about how we're going to communicate moving forward. I hear my colleagues, making a great point about communicating with the owner of record, and we do see the quitclaim deed here. It does show that recorded mail and tax statements should go to the 473 Quarry Road address, which is listed as Evergreen Nonprofit, but I did see that the state has the nonprofit address associated with 61 Ole Hanson Road in Eureka. So I just want to make sure that we're clear on who's communicating on behalf of the new owners, and it's, I understand like different board members live in different places, and so it might have been filed in one location but receiving mail at a different. But so is that 473 Quarry Road that's listed on the quitclaim as the address for recorded mail and tax statements the right address to be using moving forward for communications? And I think that would be to you. Or is the Ole Hanson Road one of the working addresses that you want to use?
The Ole Hanson mail, I would not like that to be. I would not like mail to be sent there anymore.
Great. All right.
I did move to a new address. Did you need that?
I think if you would provide it to our staff, that would be great, so that we can ensure that communication is smooth moving forward. So yeah, and I know that sometimes that happens with these records where they have an older address. So just make sure we have everything clear there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, it should be you should update that with the state of California as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Supervisor Madrone.
So normally if there's fees and fines and debt like that accrued, and we go into an abatement, ultimately there'd be a lien placed on the property. Is that correct?
Depending on the circumstance, yes. In this circumstance, that has not been done.
Right. If it goes into receivership, then the property actually transfers to the receiver
right.
at the end of the notice of violation period and a court ruling or whatever else it takes. And then the receiver would do the cleanup, and then they would put the property on the market for sale. The sale would then reimburse the receiver for the cost of cleanup, and anything left over after that would go to the previous owner. But they wouldn't have the property anymore.
That is correct.
So in a case like this, where you have the previous owner with a debt, it's not with the new owner, how does that get collected?
Well, it would go back to the person that's shown as the current owner before the receiver takes possession of the property.
The past debt?
No, the past debt is something that's a personal obligation of the individual.
Personal obligation. There's
Yes.
no lien you can do or anything
Right.
else. It's just a personal obligation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Supervisor Bohn.
Will this also clear up you know, we keep hearing about the survey, and I know it's been professionally surveyed and all the way back to the 1,800 maps and forward and everything else. Does this clean up those lines? So it's our property, it's their property. Is this going to clean this up for the adjoining property owners and both for the current, you know, nonprofit and?
Any action that we take would not clean that up unless they came in with a lot line adjustment.
Who comes in with the lot line? Because the lot line's already adjusted. They're
Well,
they're actually asking for the lot lines to be enforced. So.
Well, that's a civil matter.
Okay.
That's not something the county does.
That's fine. Okay.
You can
So
go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we receive and file and proceed with the abatement.
Second. You can go ahead, sit down.
Did we get a second?
Mine.
Oh, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. Supervisor Arroyo?
Yes.
Supervisor Wilson?
Yes.
Supervisor Bohn?
Yep.
Supervisor Madrone?
Yes.
Chair Bushnell?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Ford. Thank you for coming. And if you have any questions, you could go to the planning department later and get some clarification if you need that. Okay. I wanted to ask County Council, we have one more item and we have staff here already, and I was hoping we could finish that so that they could go on their day.
Yes, that would be fine.
Excuse me? I can't hear.
Yes.
Okay. So our next item is going to be brought to us by Public Health. Let me get back to my agenda. It's okay. I just can't hear when you're talking. Why don't I have you introduce your item? I'm looking for my agenda.
Hi, Chair Bushnell, Supervisors. We're actually here to give the biannual. Can you put that mic on, please? Am I on?
Yes, I think. Are you on? Is he on? No.
How about now?
Yes.
Hi, Chair Bushnell, Supervisors. We're actually here to give the biannual update on overdose prevention, syringe services, and other harm reduction efforts in the county. And yeah, I'm Dr. Candy Stockton, the County Health Officer, and with me today is
Brianna Sherlock, Manager for the Healthy Communities and WIC Division in Public Health.
And in the interest of your graciousness in giving us this time now, we'll try to move quickly. So as you know, the Board of Supervisors approved the public health harm reduction services back in 2012. We do work around overdose prevention, naloxone distribution, syringe exchange and disposal, and connect to other ancillary services like HIV, hepatitis C, rapid testing, treatment for referrals, linkages to care for communicable diseases and substance use disorders, as well as linkages to care for other mental health and social services needs, housing and such. The benefits of these programs across the country and locally have been well established. They help reduce the incidence of HIV and hepatitis C transmission, as well as helping to reduce overdose deaths in people who use drugs. Lots and lots of data going back showing that they do not increase drug use, as is sometimes a concern for people, as well as providing really important pathways for connecting people who use drugs to social services, addiction treatment services, and other medical services. We also know that areas that have active syringe service programs across the country have actually lower incidence of syringe litter in their community, lower incidence of needle stick injuries for law enforcement officers, and decreased crime levels compared to areas who do not have those programs. Looking back at our syringe service programs over the last 3 years, you can see the number of syringes exchanged, the client encounters that we've had during that time. Obviously, the numbers during 2022 and 2023, 2022 reduced a little bit because of pandemic restrictions, and those numbers starting to creep back up in 2023, but back to full swing in 24. As well as the number of naloxone kits that we've
Hold on,
distributed.
please. We have to have the doors open. I apologize. Someone just shut them. Kaylee's going to get them. I apologize.
Not a problem.
Yeah, they're making sure.
Go ahead. Thank you. Importantly, our participants have reported nearly 280 overdose reversals in the last year. It's actually critically important if you think about the total number of deaths that we had in Humboldt County from overdoses last year was about 50, looking at how much higher that would have been without the overdose reversals that we had as a result of our naloxone distribution programs.
So as Dr. Stockton mentioned earlier, the program has been operating for about 13 years, and you'll see in a couple of slides a little bit about the rates of disease in our county. Our North Coast AIDS program, where our syringe services program and other overdose prevention and infectious disease prevention program lives, advances the board's strategic framework areas of focus on safe and healthy communities and housing for all, and the public health community health improvement plan's priority areas of substance use and housing instability and homelessness. Our program works closely with community partners, including law enforcement and city officials, to provide services in a way that meets the community's needs, both the clients that we're serving as well as the communities where we're providing these services. And a big part of our outreach program, which includes the syringe services program, is to build relationships and trust with participants and to meet participants where they're at, both physically and emotionally, so that we're able to develop relationships and provide linkages for services, including social service programs, substance use treatment programs, and behavioral health services.
And the movement for public health to be involved in syringe service programs originally grew out of the HIV crisis and the need to slow the prevention of communicable diseases, which you'll see has been quite effective at, but has evolved to include the overdose crisis. And so now our harm reduction services really target both of those areas.
In addition to public health's harm reduction program in the county, there's also a program located out of Arcata called the Humboldt Area Center for Harm Reduction, or Hatcher, and syringes are also widely available at doctors' offices, from pharmacies, as well as online.
So again, looking at overdose death rates, you can see that we have been fortunate. Our overdose death rates have been decreasing slowly over the last 3 years, but we are still losing 50 of our friends, family members, and community members to overdose last year in Humboldt County, and the numbers for this year look on track to be at that same level or slightly higher this year. So this overdose prevention work remains critically important in our community. And you can see actually that we continue to be able to maintain HIV cases at a fairly low rate, very few associated with needle stick or needle-borne transmission. And that we've had a drastic decrease in hepatitis C rates over the last 5 years locally. So the combination of both being able to treat and cure hepatitis C and slowing spread among individuals who are infected has really helped us as a community combat this serious illness.
Our harm reduction program currently distributes safer injection supplies, wound care supplies, and hygiene supplies. These include a lot of different items, including biohazard disposal containers for use syringes, ties, cottons, fentanyl and xylazine test strips, and information on linkages to care, including substance use disorder treatment and mental health treatment info. An example of the kinds of supplies that we would distribute to clients. Here's a picture of a typical kit that a client may take with them, as well as some hygiene supplies. The primary goals of the program are to reduce transmission of infectious diseases, encourage using clean equipment and not sharing equipment, which also helps control spreading of infectious diseases, to provide proper disposal avenues for sharps, to avoid medical complications, which reduces the need for EMS calls as well as visits to the emergency room, and to provide supplies to reduce overdose and create opportunities for connection and linkages to social services and care.
There are, however, some areas that our programs are still missing locally. So we know that in the era of fentanyl, most people who are using drugs are not actually injecting drugs. And that's especially true with fentanyl as compared to, say, previously heroin or other substances that we saw. We know that injection use does carry the highest risk per use of overdose death, but the vast majority of our deaths are occurring among people who are not injecting. They're using through another route. Because those syringe exchange services are our primary route for connecting with people initially to offer the additional services like stabilization, connections to treatment and those things, missing that population that is not injecting means that we're still going to see a large number of people a large number of deaths in people who have not yet connected with our services. Because of this, there's been a movement across the country actually to expand services to try to connect with more people who are using drugs. And we know locally from actually surveying our own participants that over half of people said that having availability of safer smoking supplies would reduce their injection drug use, and more than almost 2/3 of them said that they knew people who were not using our services that would come in for those other services, so larger ability to connect. Because of this, starting this fall, we're going to start expanding those services into safer use supplies as opposed to just safe injection supplies. And it's our hope that this will both reduce the number of the amount of syringes used, reduce the number of people who are injecting drugs, and help us connect with more people who are at risk of dying from overdose. I think we went over this already, that again, 85% of people who use drugs are not injecting, and they represent somewhere between half and 3/4 of our deaths locally. And we really do want to connect with those members of our community who are still at risk of death. So,
So there are several syringe disposal kiosks located around the county, as well as other disposal options to safely dispose of used syringes. Our syringe service program collects used syringes, and then there are kiosks which are available 24/7 in Eureka, Garberville, and McKinleyville, as well as kiosks which are available with more limited hours also in Eureka and McKinleyville, and additionally in Fortuna and Hoopa.
And in closing, we just want to say how appreciative we are of your support for these programs that help prevent illness and save lives in our community. And we're excited to keep doing this work. Thank you.
Supervisor Bohn.
Well, I know Hatcher's moved to Arcata, and I know a lot of people in Eureka I've heard from multiple people that it has changed the outlook on the areas they had operated in before. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the work you're doing. I see the conflicts are just that I'm just an old man looking here, but that we're going to give away smoking supplies in the unincorporated community so they can smoke an illegal product, but we're not doing any more tobacco licenses like that. So I love how we move things around, and hopefully we can apply this. But as we move forward with the fentanyl use, a lot of that is going to be enforcement, law enforcement also, with the drug task force and everything else. Instead of accommodating the less on the streets, also helps people that they're down. If they can't get the product, maybe they're going to think about coming in and getting help with that. So I hope that's a big part of it rather than aiding these people, because I don't know if that, your stats say it's the greatest thing in the world. I don't know if the streets show that. So that's just an old man that's spent 71 years here, just what I see. Thanks.
Anyone else? Supervisor Arroyo?
Well, I appreciate you really bringing the information about the different ways that you can connect with the community members and get them resources. So I just want to voice support for the approach, and appreciate that you're bringing a data-driven approach. Thanks very much.
Supervisor Wilson?
Oh, have we had public comment yet?
No.
Oh, I'll wait till after public comment.
Supervisor Madrone, anything? No? Okay, we'll go out to public comment, and we'll start with the Zoom.
There is none, Chair.
Okay, and we'll go to public comment in the room.
As another 71-year-old man, I believe Hatcher for a while was in Arcata, right down by the place I shop at down there by Harbor Freight. I think they closed down. I don't know where they moved, but anyway, that has eliminated a lot of the particular traffic that some people didn't feel were desirable to their business in that area. So I'm trying to understand, you're trying to deal with the fentanyl. So are you going to be giving out safe fentanyl to people because they know what the doses are? Or are these other things? I don't quite understand what is being proposed here. I think that's the whole harm reduction, is to get people their drugs, but still make sure they're not overdosing and it's safe. So I don't know if that's proposed or how that's supposed to work. A lot of your other facts and figures, there you say you're getting into a new program, but a lot of them seem to be related to the old program there. So strongly support what we can do to help get people off of the total devastating drug use that happens with here. And if this is something that really is making, I saw the deaths are going down, and that's a big thing, no matter what. But I'm not sure exactly what is enabling that to happen exactly for sure. If we can pinpoint that exactly, then move forward with that. Some of these other things, possibly not. So I give me an opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Supervisor Madrone.
Well, thank you for your work. I mean, I think the data does show that it's having a positive effect. And we're not Portugal, so we don't have heroin shops and other kinds of things. We don't hand out drugs. We hand out equipment to try and make things safer. I mean, there's some interesting data in countries like Portugal and other places that have taken it a whole nother level further, but we don't do that in America, I guess, so much. Anyway, I just really want to thank you for your work. I think it's phenomenal, and as you reach out to more people, it's quite helpful. And yeah, people have moved away from syringes to aluminum foil, and boiling it on that and snorting it up or doing whatever they do, I guess, and stuff. I think we've all been touched in our families by addiction and these drugs in one way or another, and I very much appreciate the work you're all doing, so thank you.
Okay, so we need a motion to file and accept the report. I want to say thank you as well. I haven't been greatly supportive of the needle exchange program, but I wanted different parameters around it, one-for-one exchange and so forth and so on. It's not that I don't agree with the process or the concept. I just wanted some more, I guess, more. I don't even know what the word is. I wanted it to be monitored more. And so I do appreciate the work, and I do recognize that the drug overdoses have gone from injectables to more pill form now, which is unfortunate. And hopefully someday we can find solutions for that as well. I know that our Sheriff's Department and our DEA are really proactive and really out searching those drugs out. And so I hope that I know that will continue forward to make our community safer. And so I'm looking for a motion to receive and file.
I'm happy to make that motion with a heartfelt thank you to our public health and DHH staff, and thanks you guys. I mean, really, it's sometimes thankless work, and I want to let you know we thank you for your service. With that, I want to make a motion to receive and file.
Second.
Supervisor Bohn?
Yeah.
Supervisor Arroyo?
Yes.
Supervisor Madrone?
Yes.
Chair Bushnell?
Yes.
Supervisor Wilson?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you for the report and the update. Appreciate it. Okay, so it is this board's intention now to go into closed session. That was a time set for noon. We will go to County Council.
Thank you, Chair Bushnell. It is the intention of the board to meet in closed session pursuant to California Government Code Sections 54954.5 and 54957 in order to consider the public employee performance evaluations for the positions of the Clerk of the Board of Supervisors and the Director of Planning and Building. It is also the intention of the board to meet in closed session pursuant to California Government Code Section 54957 in order to consider discipline, dismissal, and/or release of a public employee. Finally, it is the intention of the board to meet in closed session pursuant to California Government Code Section 54956.9 D1 in order to discuss existing litigation in the cases of OB versus County of Humboldt, Humboldt County Superior Court Case Number CV 2200748, AK versus County of Humboldt, Humboldt County Superior Court Case Number CV 2200882, JK versus County of Humboldt, Humboldt County Superior Court Case Number CV 2201-621, MR versus Humboldt County, Humboldt County Superior Court Case Number CV 2201-1622, Lindsay Idler versus County of Humboldt, Humboldt County Superior Court Case Number CV 2201-675, NB versus County of Humboldt, Humboldt County Superior Court Case Number CV 2402029, and Tobias Halfenecker Dodge versus County of Humboldt et al., Humboldt County Superior Court Case Number CV 2501216.
Okay, we will go to public comment on closed session. We'll go to the Zoom first.
There is none, Chair.
Okay, and then we'll go to public comment in the room.
Kent Sawatsky, item number 2 has to do with public employment evaluation for clerk of the board. Tracy, I give her an A. Item number 3, we have also John Ford, position of Director of Planning. I give him an A also. And yet to be named on item 4, I'm giving an F to counterbalance that. And in fact, it's an F minus. I did wish to bring to your attention and the public's attention that we have 7 other litigation items on here, 5 of which just have initials. And the reason those are initials are because these are most likely children through CWS or other things representing themselves with the county. This is a trend, very disturbing trend, where you actually have 5 of those cases. I understand it represented by Mitchell Law Firm represents you on those, probably the lawyer I saw walk into the room a little while ago. This is a very bad trend to have, and it's going to be going up. And I wish to say some of the reasons why you may be seeing that trend going up. When you have possibly the person under number 4 who you're considering to discipline, dismiss, or release of a public employee, setting up a program where these people are actually brought into it. One of the first things they want to have is they want to have a psych review, a psych analysis. They have their specific people in this department who declare these people are not competent. They have psychological problems. When that particular thing does not happen to agree with the psychologist of that parent, who is basically giving them counseling, the court then orders them to cease seeing their psychologist because they don't agree with the county one, which is bought and paid for a top dollar shelf person whose job is to go ahead and do this. This is totally wrong. This thing needs to stop. Then you enter a system where this poor person ends up maybe in a 4-day court process for a hearing. In that court process, I read to you some lies were put forward to the court. Judges upstairs, you cannot depend on CWS, even things sent up by county counsel's office, as being accurate. Some of them are based on fraud and lies. That should stop. Then you have a process where the person, if they can't afford their own attorney for a 4-day court trial in upstairs for the court that we don't go to because that's between them, they are appointed a CWS attorney. That CWS attorney says, oh, we've got these moments. We're going to do the Perry Mason moment here. Of course, those just don't seem to happen. We've caught them in lies. And so here the person's left being non-represented and represented to their detriment, do not provide them the documents they require to go on for the appeal. And this is a really messed up process. So the person in number 4, I hope, would be a person in charge of CWS, DHHS, and that's the person to initiate this policy that is totally messing with our children and the safety of our children in our community, and it needs to stop. So hopefully that someday that person will be dismissed. I'm looking forward to other court cases coming forward in federal court and more of these. Thank you for my opportunity to speak today.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that has public comment on closed session? No? Seeing none, we'll close that, and I'm going to ask council how long we anticipate being in closed session.
I would say anywhere from 4 to 5 hours.
Okay, so we are in recess to access Humboldt. We have a ton. If you want to give Kaylee your phone number, she can message you when we're back. Thank you. Okay, we have attorneys coming in at 1, so if the board could do their 5-minute bathroom break or whatever, and then go to conference room A. Thank you.
Scott nailed the estimate.
Okay, thank you. We're back out of closed session, and I'm going to go to County Council for report out.
Thank you, Chair Bushnell. There was no reportable action taken with regard to items G2 through G10. With regard to item G11, the board voted unanimously to authorize the Humboldt County Counsel's Office to defend the County of Humboldt in the case of Tobias Haffenecker Dodge versus County of Humboldt et al., Humboldt County Superior Court Case Number CV 2501216.
Okay, so we have one more item, and this is the County Administrative Office, and this is an introduction of an ordinance amending Section 241-2 through 241-9 of Chapter 1 of Division 4 of the Title 2 of the Humboldt County Code relating to the duties, responsibility, and authorizing the county administrative officer and employment agreement regarding appointment of the county administrative officer. And so this is going to be an introduce and waive the first reading of the attached ordinance amending Section 21-2 through 241-9. And the ordinance is attached. And so we're waiving the first reading. Is there any comments from the board? Supervisor Arroyo.
CAO Hayes and I discussed one of the provisions around like access to resources, and it's a pretty broad statement, and so I think perhaps there's interest in looking at something that's all our name tags are down here for some reason. Okay, I'll put mine out. That way everyone knows. So I don't know if there's interest from the rest of the board in considering language that gets more specific about what resources the CAO can bring to bear. I think our conversation really included that any new allocation of resources or major changes would have to come with a budget allocation. So it wouldn't be something that the CAO would single-handedly be able to do to, take over substantive resources. So that's the only thing that had come up as a point of comment.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
Do you have suggested language change that would address this?
I think we could say, we could add a sentence, and this is section 241-6, section E. I think it could state in here that any significant structural changes would require board agendized items and the appropriate budget allocation modifications.
I'm okay with that, and so that would be, and if that would need to be in the motion, so whoever the motion maker is would need to adopt that language in as well.
And it seems still a bit discretionary. Is that enough for you to address your concern?
Absolutely.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay, so if there are no more questions on this, I'm going to go out to public comment, and we'll start on the Zoom.
There is none, Chair.
Okay, I'll go to public comment in the room. Line up. Okay, seeing none, we will bring it back to the board. Closing public comment. I do want to, just for process purpose, so we're waiving the first reading, County Council, I'm sorry. And so will this be the adoption of this ordinance, or will it come back again?
It will come back on the 7th for adoption.
And
this
that
is
would,
the introduction.
Okay, and that would be on consent or another item like this?
That would be on consent.
Okay, so does someone want to take us, make a motion, including the language change?
Sure, I'll just make the motion to approve the ordinance as stated by the chair with the modification as stated by the CAO, excuse me.
And for Kaylee, can the CAO email Kaylee that message, and County Council show something? Is that okay, Kaylee?
I would recommend the motion be to approve staff recommendations with the proposed language change that was discussed today, because there is also another piece here with regard to the employment agreement for the CAO.
Right. That's exactly what I said, which is to both to approve the employment language and as well as the amendment to the ordinance and the associated edits that were proposed by the CAO.
I'll second.
And for process, you're going to email Kaylee the language that you proposed, that we agree on.
It's actually, it has to come back. So when it comes back for adoption, it will contain that language and we'll highlight it in the agenda item. And I think that for the motion, you can say with the modifications as suggested by the CAO.
Clarify the motion, Kaylee?
Okay, the motion was that the ordinance and the contract is going to be amended by earlier conversation, brought back on October 7th.
So the ordinance is going to be amended, the contract will not be. So the motion is that to accept the ordinance with modification language and accept the contract, correct?
It'll be accept staff recommendations.
Yeah.
And return on October 7th with the suggested language changes.
Okay.
I'll email it to you.
Okay. Supervisor Madrone?
Yes.
Supervisor Arroyo?
Yes.
Chair Bushnell?
Yes.
Supervisor Wilson?
Yes.
Supervisor Bohn absent. Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you, we're adjourned.